A white-dressed woman appeared before Yemo. She seemed very formal, giving Yemo a feeling like she was a lily rising out of the water. A white-dressed woman appeared before Yemo. She seemed very formal, giving Yemo a feeling like she was a lily rising out of the water. Such a pretty woman. Yemo thought of Susu and Zhen Bingyu. They were on par with her, but this woman seemed to have a royal temperament. Yemo didn't believe those seductive words were said by this woman. But when Yemo looked at the old man behind her, he immediately stopped using his spirit sense. Although the old man hid his power, he was at least a mortal king peak stage, or even an immortal monarch. "Brother Yi, can you sell this pill cauldron to me?" The same voice came out of her mouth, but it didn't have the seduction like before. Yemo dazed. He couldn't match that seductive voice to this formal-looking woman. Seeing Yemo daze, the woman laughed. There was innocence and naivety in her laugh, as though she was a little girl. "You know me?" Yemo asked heavily. This woman saw Yemo's look suddenly turn serious and said with some unhappiness as she groaned, "Brother Yi, do you hate me that much? You said you liked me before. I like you?" Yemo laughed. "I don't even know who you are. Why would I like you?" Even though there was an immortal monarch behind her, Yemo wasn't scared. Immortal monarchs wouldn't dare to attack a great eternity immortal here. If it was in the void, Yemo would be alert. "So you tricked me." The woman suddenly seemed like she was about to cry. "You told Xiang Changyong you really like me, so you lied to me." Yemo suddenly woke up. He couldn't believe that this woman was Demon Joy Sex Huarushue. Sister CS said Demon Joy Sex women were the most shameless. They went around seducing men. They would sleep with them whenever and wherever they could. But this Huarushue seemed to naive and innocent. Without that, she would be a formal-looking goddess. Yemo really couldn't connect her to her Demon Joy sect identity. Yemo couldn't help being amazed at how quick she received news of it. But it was no wonder Xiang Changyong would tell her she was indeed too attractive. "There are countless people called Huarushue. I might not be talking about you. If you have to think that I am, then I lied to you." Yemo nodded. Huarushue was at a loss for words. But she quickly reacted and lowered her head as though in disappointment and used a very crisp sound voice. "I heard, brother, you wanted to sell your pill cauldron. Will I be able to buy it?" "Of course, as long as you can afford it," Yemo said. "I don't have an immortal range. I only have immortal crystals. Name a price. I'll convert it to immortal crystals to you." Huarushue changed into a holy goddess manner. Yemo smiled. "Sorry, I don't want immortal crystals." Immortal crystals were much worse than immortal range, and an extreme grade immortal range would be very helpful to the Golden Page world too. The look of disappointment on her face would make ordinary men want to give everything to her to make her happy. Some immortals on the side cursed Yemo for being so vulgar. They would have given the pill cauldron to her already. "Brother Chu, Martial Sister Li Jin, I took the pill cauldron. I will pay for it," Yemo said to Chu Chi and Ren Li Jin. Chu Chi quickly said, "It's right of us to give the pill cauldron to Brother Yi. If you say any more, I'll be ashamed." Seeing Yemo about to go, Huarushue quickly stopped Yemo. "Brother Yi, if you really want an immortal range, that's fine. 2 nights later, there will be an auction at the top level of the ship. Only wealthy immortals can go there. One must have at least a 1 billion net worth to go. If you want to go, I can lend you 1 billion immortal crystals to participate there. If you sell your pill cauldron there, you might be able to get an extreme grade immortal range. I don't have immortal crystals and I don't want to go to some auction." Yemo rejected without hesitation. He wanted to go, but he definitely couldn't let people know. Then Huarushue showed extreme disappointment. "Then Brother Yi, do you want to have a sit at my place? I'm willing to talk the entire night away with you." "No need. Starting from today, I'm going into solitary cultivation. I need to spirit control this pill cauldron. I'm an immortal pill master. This pill cauldron is very important to me," Yemo said. Just when Yemo didn't know what to do, the Great Eternity Immortal stopped Yemo. "Because of your rudeness to Rushue Goddess, I, Miaocheng Heaven's Yinchong Sex Yagu, officially challenge you to a duel." Yemo knew that this guy wanted to use the challenge to rob the god artifact, but he didn't have time to challenge this guy. He had 5 billion immortal crystals. He could go into the auction. Before Yemo answered, Guya said again, "Of course, if you're willing to accept defeat." I won't humiliate you. Yemo sneered. This guy just wanted the pill cauldron. Of course he wouldn't humiliate him. If you want to fight, I'm down, but I don't have time to play with you now. I need to go back for solitary cultivation. See you half a month later on the battle stage. Yemo turned to leave, ignoring Hua Rushue, who was waiting for him on the side. Guya sneered. You probably don't know. The challenged can't delay the battle for more than 5 days. You want to delay it by half a month? Do you want to lose? Yemo really didn't know this rule. If he had to come out and fight Guya, this would be against his plan. Yemo was thinking about how to convert his immortal essence to a fake Great Eternity immortal tertiary stage. He believed he would be able to do it with the 3 birth chant. As long as he changed his cultivation level, he could forge a mask. Only then would he dare to go to the auction. Yemo slowly looked at Guya and said, In that case, I accept your challenge. The time is now. You really want to go to the battle stage now? Guya looked at Yemo in disbelief. A Great Eternity immortal primary stage didn't even fear death for the pill cauldron? Just when Yemo wanted to talk, a powerful spirit sense subtly charged into his sea of consciousness. Yemo's sea of consciousness was different than others. He would even immortal emperor spirit sense checking inside. Yemo's face went pale. He immediately hacked out tins of spirit sense blades and used a spirit sense net to stop that spirit sense. The spirit sense clashed with Yemo, and Yemo spat a few mouthfuls of blood and flew back tens of meters into a shop. Top-grade spirit sense cultivation method? The old man called out in shock. Yemo got up slowly. If he didn't use spirit sense blade, this old thing almost invaded into the depth of his sea of consciousness. This way, not only would be turned into an idiot, the golden page world would be exposed. This old bastard didn't consider the immortal ship rules and attacked him. Hua Rushue frowned at the old man. Who let you attack? The old man quickly bowed. This person disrespected mistress. I'm teaching him a lesson. Hua Rushue ignored him and walked up to Yemo bowing. Sorry, my subordinate was very rude. I apologize to you genuinely. Her tone was genuine and had a sliver of pity, making people unable to get angry. Yemo nodded. Okay, I know. Hua Rushue felt relaxed, but Yemo didn't even wipe the blood from his body and said to a Great Eternity immortal not far ahead, How do I report status immortal ambushing a great immortal? Ring the drum at the marketplace entrance. That Great Eternity immortal saw a status immortal ambush Yemo and also felt annoyed, but he didn't dare to talk before. Didn't I apologize to you before? Hua Rushue called out in shock. I already said I know. Do I have to say it again? Yemo then walked up to the drum and smashed the stick onto the drum. His sea of consciousness was almost crippled. Could one sorry be enough? The deep drum sound rang through the entire immortal ship. The old man's face immediately changed. His hands turned shaky. He didn't expect that Yemo dared to ring the drum. He was more surprised that a mere Great Eternity immortal primary stage could not only notice but also stop his spirit sense attack. The old man's face immediately changed. His hands turned shaky. He didn't expect that Yemo dared to ring the drum. He was more surprised that a mere Great Eternity immortal primary stage could not only notice but also stop his spirit sense attack. He had never seen such a powerful spirit sense cultivation method. If it wasn't for that spirit sense cultivation method, a mere Great Eternity immortal primary stage wouldn't be fine even if he didn't attack with full power. He didn't really want to check the depth of Yemo's sea of consciousness. He just wanted to mark it. He thought a Great Eternity immortal primary stage wouldn't be able to notice this. But as soon as his spirit sense touched Yemo's sea of consciousness, he felt the most powerful resistance. Because of this, he increased his spirit sense attack power. Otherwise, his sea of consciousness would be injured first. Due to this, he heavily injured Yemo. The punishment for status immortal attacking a Great Eternity immortal wasn't ordinary, it was soul annihilation. How could he not fear? Yemo didn't know how heavy the punishment for this was, but even if he knew, he would still strike the drum without hesitation. Everyone looked at Yemo with admiration. This Great Eternity immortal primary stage really feared nothing. Even if a status immortal taught a Great Eternity immortal a lesson, no one would dare to ring the drum. If he annoyed this status immortal or his friend, even if the great eternity immortal got his revenge, he would be finished himself. Plus, everyone knew the sect where the old man came from. It was an emperor's sect. Demon Joy sect was a very murderous sect. You really dare to strike the immortal ship drum. You're so cruel. Hua Rushue didn't have the naivety from before. Her face was covered in killing intent. As soon as she said this, a few powerful Kais came. At the same time, 2 immortal monarchs arrived at the marketplace. What happened? A skinny immortal monarch primary stage asked. Just the pressure from his power made the people nearby feel it was hard to breathe. He was clearly talking to Yemo, as Yemo was holding the drumstick. Yemo put it down and bowed, saluted with his fists. This person ambushed me as a status immortal, making me heavily injured. If I didn't know some simple spirit sense methods, my sea of consciousness would have been shattered and I would become an idiot. As a contestant invited to Qingwei Heaven for the tournament, I kept to myself and have done nothing wrong. But now I have had this disaster brought upon me. Please bring justice, 2 masters. Is this so? The immortal monarch's power rose and locked up the space nearby. This was the first time Yemo saw an immortal monarch's killing intent. It was this terrifying and direct. It was as though once this killing intent was activated, he didn't even need to attack to tear people apart. Yemo was shocked. This was just an immortal monarch primary stage, and he didn't even attack or activate his killing intent, yet he was this scary. Then what about an immortal monarch peak stage, or even immortal emperor? Now, Yemo doubted if he could guard his sea of consciousness against immortal emperor. Just the immortal king's spirit senses attack from before wasn't at full power. If he used full power, would he be able to guard it? Yes, 2 masters. Wanbei didn't really want to attack this great eternity immortal. I just wanted to check his cultivation method, but then there was a misunderstanding causing mutual attacks. Wanbei is willing to take responsibility. Please take it easy on me, 2 masters. The immortal king bowed. Hua Rushue also said, Hua Rushue, greet Wind and Lightning Masters. Uncle Ji is my house servant. This is my fault too. I'm willing to compensate his loss and accept the punishment of the immortal ship. The skinny immortal monarch asked, You know us? Yes, Wanbei is Demon Joy sect's disciple. I've been on this ship with my master before. Hua Rushue bowed again. Your master is? The immortal monarch's tone eased up. My master is Demon Joy sect's Luo Z, immortal emperor. Have 2 immortal monarch masters heard of him? Hua Rushue bowed again. So it's Master Luo Z, immortal emperor. The skinny immortal monarch's face changed and his tone eased up. Even his killing intent towards Uncle Ji was greatly reduced. Yemo's heart sunk. He knew this wasn't going to end well. The 2 immortal monarchs' attitude clearly changed. That skinny immortal monarch looked at him with some coldness. The skinny immortal monarch looked back at Yemo and said, They're willing to compensate and apologize. Are you willing to accept? If you do, then name your condition. If not, then we will take this immortal king to punishment. Yemo wanted to ring the drum and bring law enforcer above immortal monarch, but thinking about how he had no backup and if an immortal emperor really came and forcefully killed him, there would be nothing he could do. They would be able to attack him when he was in solitary cultivation. Yemo sighed and felt very annoyed. No matter where it was, if you didn't have power or backup, you were someone to be abused. I'm willing to accept the apology. I need 2 billion immortal crystals, Yemo said. Yemo knew he would be suspected if he went to auction after taking the 2 billion immortal crystals, but he couldn't just let them go for free. Here, I'm afraid you won't be able to handle this well. Hua Rushue just threw 2 immortal crystals cards at Yemo. Young people are brave indeed. The skinny immortal monarch saw this and sneered before disappearing with the other immortal monarch from this place. You probably can't go yet. You said you would accept my challenge. You need to go to the battle stage now, not somewhere else, Guya immediately said. Guya thought if he killed Yemo, his storage ring would be his. Even if he didn't take the 2 billion immortal crystals, he would be connecting with Hua Rushue. If Hua Rushue wanted this pill cauldron, the 2 billion immortal crystals would be compensation. As you wish, lead the way, Yemo said without hesitation. There was a challenge, and soon everyone on the boat knew about this, including Li Kuan and them. Xiang Changyong was dazed upon hearing this. He saw Yemo's power with his own eyes. Even he was no match. Who was dumb enough to challenge Yemo? But soon he realized there was a show to watch and took his people to the stage. Brother Yi, I didn't expect someone dare to challenge you. Haha, there's a good show to watch. Brother Yi, can you come over to my place for a few drinks after? Xiang Sihangyong saluted with his fists. Probably not these few days. We'll talk about it at Qingwei Heaven. Seeing this, he knew that the problem between Xiang Changyong and Qi Baizong had been resolved. Xiang Changyong was very famous on the ship. Guya knew about Xiang Changyong, of course. Seeing Xiang Changyong so polite and familiar with Yemo, his heart sunk. He knew Xiang Changyong's background very well. Even Hua Rushue could only flirt with him and not offend him because Xiang Changyong's background was even stronger than hers. With what Xiang Changyong said, he was bound to lose. You challenge my brother? Then I'll kill you first. Li Kuan said, glaring coldly at Guya. A mere great eternity, immortal tertiary stage, doesn't need Brother Yi or Goddess Shiyu to fight. Yin Hui, will be enough. Yin Hui's killing intent forced towards Guya. Guya's heart suddenly went cold. He found he didn't even investigate the opponent he challenged. Really? This many people ganging up on one? Guya, go challenge this weak little kid. I want to see who dares to challenge you. I'll challenge him first. Since when did Miaoqing Heaven become so easy to abuse? A cold, contemptuous voice sounded. Xiang Changyong and Yin Hui immediately shut up. Really? This many people ganging up on one? Guya, go challenge this weak little kid. I want to see who dares to challenge you. I'll challenge him first. Since when did Miaoqing Heaven become so easy to abuse? A cold, contemptuous voice sounded. Xiang Changyong and Yin Hui immediately shut up. They couldn't mess with this person, the #1 master below status immortal in Miaoqing Heaven, Di Wenchen. He was one of the sect members in the #1 sect in Miaoqing Heaven, Juqian Emperor sect. Li Kuan raised her eyebrow and wanted to talk but was stopped by Yemo, Sister Shiyu. You don't need to come, I'm fine. Yemo's killing intent sword. Being forbearing constantly on this ship wasn't the way to go. If he was by himself, it was fine, but he had friends here too. His spirit sense cultivation method had been exposed by that immortal king. Even if he kept laying low, Hua Rushue would tell everyone, so he might as well be straightforward. Hurry up, my time is limited. Yemo landed on the stage and said calmly to Guya. Guya was very excited. He didn't expect that after being challenged by so many people, he would get the sympathy of Di Wenchen. With this, he immediately flew on the stage. If you admit defeat now, you still have a sliver of chance, otherwise, don't blame me for killing you like a chicken, Guya said. If there wasn't Xiang Changyong and Li Kuan and them supporting Yemo, he could have attacked already instead of making him admit defeat. Di Wenchen was getting impatient. He said to Guya uncomfortably, since you challenged him, then take out your full power. Kill what needs to be killed, there's nothing to fear. With this, Guya's only sliver of worry was gone. Before Yemo answered him, he took out a 10-meter-long black spear. Tens of thousands of spear shadows appeared out of nowhere as killing intent spread. Yemo was a straightforward person. He didn't plan on holding back. His battle experience was ample, and his spirit sense and immortal essence was far beyond Guya's. He didn't even wait for Guya's killing force to send out a punch. Thud, Yemo almost used full power. With this, tens of miles around the stage were encompassed by his fist, wind and heaven, covering killing intent, completely covered that unformed spear force. Even the immortals below the stage subconsciously skipped a heartbeat, as though this punch was coming at their chest. When Di Wenchen saw this punch, his face changed. He was the #1 great immortal of Miaoqing Heaven. Of course he knew the power of Yemo's punch. This was a Goddard punch. It was unstoppable. Rumble, Guya's spear was swept by the fist wind and become thousands of times heavier. He couldn't even lift it. Crack, the fist wind struck the spear, and a huge explosion sounded. Guya's face changed and burned his immortal essence. If his spear was caught by the fist force, he would only be able to await death. The terrifying killing intent was brought over by Yemo. Guya wanted to break free, but it was too late. An invisible killing force whirlpool swept up like a disc and crushed down. Guya found it was hard to breathe, as though a huge disc had landed on his chest. Thud, thud. The sound of space exploding grew louder and Guya's pupils dilated, as though he felt the chi of death and destruction. Guya was completely dazed. Was this punch made by a great eternity immortal primary stage, or an immortal king? How was there such terrifying fist god artifact? I admit defeat, Guya called in horror, but soon he found his voice was enveloped by the killing force and couldn't make a sound. Thud! The whirlpool struck Guya head-on. Blood and flesh flew everywhere and instantly disintegrated amidst the whirlpool. A black spear was shot up 100 meters high before landing and piercing into the corner of the stage while wobbling. Clank! A storage ring fell onto the stage, making a crisp sound. The killing force whirlpool disappeared, and the stage returned to being calm. Guya was gone. Only piles of blood and the spear remained. The area was silent. Everyone stared at Emo in shock. At this moment, Emo reached out an immortal essence hand and grabbed the storage ring. It was like a person walking under the afternoon sun and found a storage ring on the road, so he picked it up peacefully and calmly. There was silence. A Great Eternity Immortal Primary Stage used one punch to instant kill a Great Eternity Immortal Tertiary Stage who challenged him. He didn't use any schemes nor magic artifact. He used his punch. A few seconds later, a shocking applause erupted outside the stage. The battle process wasn't fascinating at all, but no one believed this battle wasn't exciting. Everyone thought they had never seen such a magnificent punch, nor such a god artifact. Perfect. Amazing. Praises sounded. This was a world of the strong. Only strong people were recognized and supported. No one would remember the defeated dead. Emo breathed easy. He saluted with his fists to the people off the stage. He didn't feel he did wrong. His opponent wanted to kill him. He didn't need to act cowardly. He might be in danger if he exposed his strength. But so what? At least no one dared to do anything to him on the ship. He just needed to be careful in the void. As for Qingwei Heaven, he would be able to go anywhere. Li Kuan clenched her fist. She was full of pride. She knew Emo could do it. She knew that Emo's power was many times stronger than when he fought Ming Kai. She was certain Emo didn't hide his cultivation level before, but she wouldn't tell anyone this secret. Qi Beizong stared at Emo in shock before murmuring, "I finally understand." He finally understood why Emo could persuade Xiang Chongyong to apologize. This punch was too terrifying. Facing against such a punch, Xiang Sihongyong would have to apologize if he didn't want to die. Ji Shu and Yin Hui also stared at Emo in shock. Even though Ji Shu knew Emo was a mortal nirvana body peak, he didn't dare to believe Emo's punch was this powerful. If he knew Emo was actually immortal spirit body, perhaps he would be more shocked. Xiang Chongyong breathed slowly. He knew he was very smart in his decision. Emo could indeed easily kill him. Hua Rushue opened her mouth in shock. She suddenly felt that Emo's secret wasn't just spirit sense cultivation method. He definitely had more. Yin Zhoutian at one corner saw the battle and frowned. He knew Emo's power and wasn't surprised Emo could kill Guya in one punch. He was worried that more people would notice Emo after this, and that wasn't good for him. Emo had Spirit Will 9 transformations, World Rock, and maybe even Time Formation Disc as well as his space-time boat. He didn't want them to be taken. Di Wenqing's face sunk. He felt this Great Eternity Immortal Primary Stage was strange. Even he wouldn't be able to easily stop that terrifying god artifact fist. He stared at Emo coldly, thinking whether he needed to kill this threat on the stage. Di Wenqing was thinking if he should challenge Emo when he suddenly felt Emo's eyes glance past him. His eyes were very placid, and there was not a sliver of killing intent, but Di Wenqing felt his body go cold. He had the feeling that Emo was waiting for him to challenge him. Di Wenqing was thinking if he should challenge Emo when he suddenly felt Emo's eyes glance past him. His eyes were very placid, and there was not a sliver of killing intent, but Di Wenqing felt his body go cold. He had the feeling that Emo was waiting for him to challenge him. Di Wenqing clenched his fist and gave up on the thought. He had to investigate this Great Eternity Immortal Primary Stage clearly before killing him. This was his habit. He didn't like doing things he didn't have confidence for. The best thing was to kill Emo in the void. Seeing Di Wenqing not planning to come up, Emo was a little disappointed. He didn't release any killing intent, so he could kill Di Wanqing. Since he already offended Di Wanqing, he didn't need to be scared. Di Wanqing's sect might be very powerful, but so what? He was on the immortal ship now. No matter how powerful that sect was, they couldn't immediately come to this immortal ship in the void, right? If that Uncle G wanted to kill him in the void, perhaps he could only run away. If he killed Di Wanqing before running away, there would be a less powerful opponent to challenge Li Kuan and them. Seeing Yimo instantly kill Guya, no one dared to go up the stage and challenge him. There was only sighs of amazement and congratulations. Qi Baitsong and them went up immediately to congratulate Yimo Ningyu. Do you know where this Yimo came from? Fong Chan stared at Yimo and asked Ningyu. Yimo used him once, and he felt a little uncomfortable. He was planning to teach Yimo a lesson if he saw Yimo alone. When he realized he might not be a match for this great eternity immortal primary stage, he was very shocked. Ningyu frowned. I don't know. She brought Yimo over and said he was her brother. I thought Yimo was her Dao partner, but later, I realized Yimo really was her brother. I didn't ask how her brother came to be. He seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. Then can you help me ask Martial's sister Shiyu who this Yimo is? He's too mysterious. Such terrifying power, and he seems so young. He's definitely not in Solo Cultivator. If this person is in Solo Cultivator, then the Emperor sect people really lack eyes. I believe no Emperor sect would let go such a prodigy. Fong Chen said again. Ningyu nodded. I'll ask Shiyu when I have time, but she seems to be very protective of him. She might not tell me. Fong Chen nodded and said, I heard Mi Yun seemed to have sat in Yimo's room for a long while. What did she do? What? Ningyu called out in shock. I'll go ask her. Then she quickly turned to run. Fong Chen didn't leave with Ningyu and just looked at Yimo in contemplation. Yimo didn't go celebrate with Qi Baitsong and them. He chose to go into solitary cultivation. He promised Li Kuan that he would come out in half a month. He wanted to ask Li Kuan to go check the auction for him, but then he was afraid it would affect her after he ran through the void. He had decided to find little immortal King Lu Meng when they were searching for void flying snow. Yimo collected his things and found that including Gu Ya's 1 billion immortal crystals, he had 6 billion immortal crystals. He didn't even dare to think about this figure before, but now he reached it. Even if he was a level 7 immortal pill great master, it wasn't easy to get this amount by selling pills. Plus, ordinary immortal pill masters have a success rate of pill concoction. Seeing some of the forgery journals in Guya's storage ring, Yimo realized that Guya was an immortal forgery great master. No wonder the guy could recognize the pill cauldron was a low-grade god artifact. After organizing his immortal crystals, Yimo took out that rusty pill cauldron. The rust were all just restrictions. Only those experienced in formation and restriction could see something. As for Hua Rushue, it was probably due to her auntie. Yimo was an immortal formation great master who could barely set up level 5 immortal formation. 10 days later, Yimo completely refined the restriction outside. When the rest fell, an ancient pill cauldron appeared on his hands. The pill cauldron even emitted a faint herbal aroma. One could see that this pill cauldron had concocted countless pills before. It had much less restriction than the replica space-time boat, but even so, Yimo estimated he would need half a month to refine all these restrictions. In the next few days, Yimo found a random stealth cultivation method and used the 3-birth chant to change it. He was planning to give it to Mi Yun Saint. After doing these, Yimo opened his room restriction and saw Mi Yun walking around his door. Seeing Yimo's room open, she immediately greeted up. Yimo knew what she wanted and smiled. Martial sister Mi Yun, please come in. Mi Yun quickly entered and helped Yimo put on the restriction before saying awkwardly, Mi Yun, congratulate martial brother, you showing your power, and instantly killed a shameless person. Yimo just took out a jade slip and gave it to her. This stealth cultivation method is slightly different to what I use, but it's rather good. Seeing this, there was surprise and joy, but when she heard what Yimo said, the joy turned to a sliver of disappointment. Clearly, Yimo deigned give her the jade slip she wanted. Yimo knew why she was disappointed, but couldn't be bothered explaining. He wasn't familiar with her. Giving her a jade slip he had derived for 5 days was enough to repay what she did. If she still wasn't satisfied, then sorry. Her disappointment quickly disappeared and she took the jade slip. She forced a happy look and said, Thank you, Martial Brother Yi. Then she scanned her spirit sense in. Soon her face showed real surprise and joy. This was definitely what she wanted. Even if a mortal monarch didn't use spirit sense to specifically check, they might not be able to see her real power. Mi Yun thanked Martial Brother Yi. Mi Yun put away the jade slip and genuinely thanked Yimo. Yimo just smiled and casually asked, Martial Sister Mi Yun, did anything important happen on the ship during my solitary cultivation? Mi Yun shook her head. No, the ship is about to stop in a day. We're at the place to catch void flying snow. More importantly, the hottest topic for discussion is your one-punch killing Gu Ye. Many people from Miao Qing Heaven want to challenge you but was suppressed by Di Wancheng. Then, she thought of something and quickly said, by the way, after you went into solitary cultivation, the top deck of the ship held a high-level auction. High-level auction? Yimo asked in confusion, but his heart was overjoyed. Yeah, I went into that auction. Many high-level things came. There were 3 extreme-grade immortal artifact, 1 extreme-grade immortal artifact flying ship that can cross the void. On top of that, a level 8 immortal spirit beast core came out too, Miyun said. There was also a level 7 immortal pill, E-King pill, and a 5-element stool. It said an immortal monarch was auctioning that. Miyun continued to talk, but Yimo's heart was overwhelmed. He almost couldn't control himself. That 5-element stool might be the one he wanted. If he obtains it, then his golden page world would be complete and become a true chaos world. Thinking about this, Yimo was excited, but Mi-Yun stopped there. Yimo quickly asked, Martial Sister Mi-Yun, what is that 5-element stool for? What price was it sold for? Mi-Yun said the starting bid was too high and didn't get sold. The immortal monarch asked for 1.5 billion immortal crystals and a middle-grade immortal range. No one could even afford the starting price. It said that the immortal monarch wanted to sell this and went to many auctions but never succeed. Hearing this, Yimo's heart went cold. He was 70% certain that this immortal monarch was fishing for those idiots who had stools too and wanted to complete it. Yimo rejoiced he didn't go to the auction now. If he did, if he even just gave the stone stool a weird look, he might be noticed by the immortal monarch lurking on the side. Yimo rejoiced he didn't go to the auction now. If he did, if he even just gave the stone stool a weird look, he might be noticed by the immortal monarch lurking on the side. Yimo really wanted to ask what the immortal monarch looked like and what the stone stool looked like, but he knew if he did, Mi-Yun would definitely become suspicious. Mi-Yun was very excited about the jade slip. When she calmed down, she would think about why he cared so much about the stone stool. Thinking about this, Yimo kept asking about the E-King pill. Mi-Yun felt it was normal that Yimo cared so much about the E-King pill. After all, almost everyone going to Qingwei Heaven was going for the Pengyu immortal fruit, which is the main ingredient for the E-King pill. Just when Yimo didn't want to keep talking, his restriction moved again. Yimo opened and found it was Li Kuan and Ning Yiyu standing at the door. Li Kuan went in seeing Yimo open the restriction, but Ning Yiyu didn't come in and just stared at Yimo coldly, and then looked at Mi-Yun. Martial Brother Yi, thank you. I'll be going first. We'll talk if we have time. Mi-Yun greeted Yimo and Li Kuan before getting up to leave. Yimo ignored Ning Yiyu and closed the door again. Seeing that Yimo didn't even invite her in, Ning Yiyu's face was bad. Martial Sister Ning Yiyu. Mi-Yun greeted. Mi-Yun, how dare you? Do you not know what a saint should be doing? As the ethereal immortal pawn saint, you cast aside your guardian and often go into other men's rooms. You're not following the rules at all. Mi-Yun's face sunk too and stared coldly at her. You're a mere core disciple and you dare to talk to me like this? Ning Yiyu's face changed and immediately remembered she was no longer saint. She was indeed way over the line to speak to Mi-Yun like that. Mi-Yun said coldly again, as the saint of ethereal immortal pond. I know what I should do. I don't need you to teach me. But you went so close to a man when you were a saint, and you dare to criticize me about this. Mi-Yun sneered and ignored Ning Yiyu as she walked off. Brother, if you really like Mi-Yun. Yimo waved his hand before Li Kuan finished. Sister Shiyu, you think too much. It's not what you think it is. I have no fetish for saints. Plus that woman doesn't look as easy to talk to as she seems. Don't worry. Li Kuan nodded and said no more. She knew Yimo wouldn't lie to her. If she was to choose a Dao partner for Yimo, she would rather choose Ning Yiyu than Mi-Yun. Sister Shiyu, You came to me probably because it's time for capture void flying snow, right? Yemo asked. Yes, there's one more day and the ship would be stopping. I'm worried that Diwansheng would be harming you. Be careful. I also heard about what happened at the marketplace. I can also enter the void when we go capture void flying snow. Be careful of Huarushiwe. Li Kuan seemed very worried. Sister Shiyu, don't worry, I have my own way. The Spirit Will 9 transformations is very useful in capturing void flying snow. Oh, and this. Yemo gave a copy of how to capture void flying snow to Li Kuan. I know. I would be entering second transformation of Spirit Will 9 transformations soon. This is indeed a top-grade spirit sense cultivation method. Li Kuan said, excitedly thinking about the use of the Spirit Will 9 transformations. Yemo could give such cultivation method to her, meaning he didn't doubt her at all. Brother, we both have Spirit Will 9 transformations. If we work together, we can definitely get more void flying snow. I believe other people would be working together too. One can't reach top 1000 alone. We'll work together. I'll give all the void flying snow I get to you, and you can see the immortal emperor. Yemo quickly stopped her. Sister Shiyu, even if someone goes, it's you not me. Brother, I'm long you immortal mountain sect members. If I get the fruit, it might be taken by the sect, but you're different. You will eventually become level 7 immortal pill grandmaster. Once you do, you can use it to forge King pill. Just give me one then. Li Kuan quickly said. Yemo smiled. Sister Shiyu, I'm actually level 7 immortal pill grandmaster already. I just need the fruit. Huh? Li Kuan got up in surprise and joy. Yemo only used a few years to reach level 7 immortal pill grandmaster. This meant that her brother didn't need to rely on anyone to buy pills. He could reach the peak himself. Li Kuan grabbed Yemo's hand in excitement. Great. This is great. But I don't want to go see those immortal emperor. Yemo said seriously. After seeing 2 immortal monarch primary stage masters, he felt threatened by immortal emperor. It was best not to go see immortal emperor if he wasn't immortal king yet. Why? Li Kuan looked at Yemo in confusion. Most great eternity immortal would do anything to see immortal emperor. Sometimes, one word from immortal emperor might solve a problem. A great eternity immortal was troubled with his entire life. Yemo said without hesitation, Sister Shiyu, I'm too weak and my cultivation method is special. I don't want the immortal emperor to notice me. Li Kuan understood what Yemo meant and nodded. I understand. If I can get the Pengyu immortal fruit, I'll leave one for you. The two discussed some specifics of capturing void flying snow before eventually deciding Yemo to act alone. Li Kuan would stay with the Changrong Heaven team. A day later, the immortal ship stopped and a few 100,000 immortals went onto the deck. Yemo followed the Changrong Heaven immortals. Soon, a powerful chi came. An ordinary man in blue robes landed at the top of the deck. Just standing there, it was as though all the chi in the world circulated around him. Yemo knew this was an illusion, as this person's power was just too powerful to him. This was countless times stronger than an immortal monarch primary stage. Yemo guessed it was probably an immortal emperor. Yemo immediately looked down and didn't even dare to use spirit sense to check this immortal emperor's power. Everyone can call me Mi Quan Immortal Emperor, although I just reached Immortal Emperor for 1,000 years, but I need to tell everyone that if status Immortal and Great Immortal is the biggest milestone in the Immortal realm, the difference Immortal Emperor and status Immortals is a natural chasm. Today, capturing the flying snow is your first step towards status Immortal. Yemo was shocked. This Mi Quan Immortal Emperor was only an Immortal Emperor for 1,000 years. He was definitely an Immortal Emperor primary stage. An Immortal Emperor primary stage didn't even intentionally exert his pressure, and he was this powerful. Then how terrifying would Feng Kong Grand Emperor and the other Immortal Emperor tertiary stages be? If he saw those Immortal Emperors, there was very high possibility he would expose his golden page world. He was one in a few 100,000 facing Mi Quan Immortal Emperor. If he saw Feng Kong Grand Emperor, it would be 1 in 1,000. Of course, some people don't need this to gain their fortune to Immortal King, but now, there are less and less opportunities to reach Immortal Emperor. The most direct way is to go to Qingwei Heaven and see Immortal Emperor. So I hope everyone can catch more void flying snow here. I also need to warn all Immortal King and Immortal Monarch on the ship. You can go into the void too, but if any status Immortal dares to attack a Great Immortal, death. Mi Quan, immortal emperor's last sentence was full of cold killing intent. Some immortal king and immortal monarch even shivered. Even though Mi Quan said this, Yemo didn't plan to leave his life to this sentence. If an immortal king wanted to kill him, would this immortal emperor be watching on the side? The time limit is 3 months. Now the ship restriction will open. Mi Quan, immortal emperor, said. The great eternity immortals all entered the void. Yemo followed them into the void too. A very ordinary great eternity immortal tertiary stage squeezed behind Yemo and went into the void with him. The great eternity immortals all entered the void. Yemo followed them into the void too. A very ordinary great eternity immortal tertiary stage squeezed behind Yemo and went into the void with him. Yemo's spirit sense casually scanned his spirit sense and saw that he was marked by spirit sense mark. Yemo didn't remove it and just sneered. He even found that half-divine spirit sense, a mere great eternity immortal, dares to mark his spirit sense mark. Going into the void, Yemo didn't go with Li Kuan and them. He left quickly alone. Half an hour later, he placed that spirit sense mark in a jade box. If it wasn't that Yemo didn't who marked this spirit sense mark, he wouldn't take it off at all. If it was by little immortal king Lu Meng and Di Wancheng, he wouldn't be scared at all. If it was marked by Hua Ruxue, he would need to worry about that Uncle Ji. Yemo released the space-time boat replica. He wanted to test this thing's speed. After Yemo mobilized the boat, it just shook in the void and instantly disappeared from its spot. Yemo scanned his spirit sense out and didn't feel used to this. It was too fast. It had all sorts of heaven domain directions clearly pointed. Yemo rejoiced this. This thing was a necessity for running away. A low-grade god artifact was this terrifyingly fast. Just how powerful would the real space-time boat be? A day later, Yemo got off the space-time boat. He knew he was far from the immortal ship. If he kept going, he might lose contact with the immortal ship. Just one day, and Yemo felt that he wouldn't be able to reach this far even if he flew on Blue Moon for a month. Yemo put away the space-time boat and took out that jade and set it next to an asteroid and bound the asteroid. Then, he chose a rather far place and started catching void-flying snow. He was fishing. He didn't know who would be coming. If it was a mortal king level, he would leave immediately. If it was below a mortal king, he would fight first no matter who it was. Yemo was just ready and his spirit sense caught a white color flash. Yemo knew it was void-flying snow. The void-flying snow was rare because first it was hard to catch, but second they were rare even in the void. Yemo had to wait 10 days before just to catch one, sometimes a month. But here, there were so many. He saw void-flying snow immediately. Was this why the immortal ship stopped here? Yemo hesitated for a moment, and the void-flying snow disappeared. Yemo realized the void-flying snow seemed faster here. But Yemo wasn't afraid. All that mattered was that there were plenty here. He didn't care about their speed at all. He learned the new way to use Spirit Sense Net from the middle-aged man, and now his Spirit Sense Net use was far stronger than when he was an abstruse immortal. Indeed, Yemo waited for less than 5 minutes, and another figure came. It slowed down quickly in Yemo's Spirit Sense domain and was brought up to Yemo. This was a high-quality void-flying snow. Yemo took out a jade box and sent it in. Compared to before, it was almost certain he would catch void-flying snow. Most importantly, he used very little time to catch one. He believed with his means, he can definitely catch more. In the next few days, Yemo kept catching void-flying snow with his Spirit Sense Net and stored them away in jade boxes. Sometimes, he would get more than 10 a day. Even during the worst time, he would get one every 2 days. In just 10 days, Yemo had caught nearly 100 void-flying snow. But later on, there were less and less void-flying snow. Later on, he only caught one every 3 days. Yemo was prepared to leave here. He couldn't even be bothered caring about the guy who left the Spirit Sense mark on him. Just when he wanted to move the Spirit Sense mark, he retreated tens of miles back and went into stealth. Moments later, an obscure shadow landed on that asteroid. "Since you're waiting for me, then come out." The figure cleared up. Yemo didn't expect this wasn't one of the 3 he had guessed. It was Yin Jiutian. Yemo wasn't scared of Yin Jiutian, just like how Yin Jiutian wasn't scared of him. He immediately showed himself. Yin Jiutian wasn't going to join up with someone, so since he was here, he didn't need to worry about more people coming. You're very powerful indeed. You spirit controlled my space-time boat in such a short while. I thought you wouldn't be able to spirit control it before coming out. It seems I underestimated you. Yin Jiutian said. Yimo smiled. You're very strong too, but that space-time boat isn't yours anymore. I spirit controlled my space-time boat, and you can still chase to here. It seems your spirit sense markability is quite good. Yin Jiutian snorted in contempt. Would I be leaving those garbage spirit sense marks? Since you know who I am and you still underestimate me, it seems even if you don't encounter me today, your future would be limited. Yimo was shocked. He seemed to have mistaken. He didn't expect Yin Jiutian to not have marked that spirit sense mark. If it wasn't Yin Jiutian, then who did it? If Yin Jiutian didn't make spirit sense mark, how did he chase up to him? Did he not refine the mark on the low-grade god artifact? But he threw his low-grade god artifact in the golden page world. Even if he didn't spirit control it, Yin Jiutian shouldn't be able to chase up. How did you catch up to me? Yimo asked. Yin Jiutian said pridefully, even if you use it to fly for a few months in the void, I can still find the trace of the god artifact. Yimo frowned. Did the god artifact really leave such an obvious trace in the void? If so, how could he avoid a mortal king hunting him? Don't worry, you're strong, but this time I'm not going to give you any chance. It's my business to worry about the space-time boat being found. Yin Jiutian seemed to know what Yimo thought. Ha ha ha. Before Yimo spoke, another laughter sounded. A golden shirt man appeared. Little immortal King Lu Meng. Yimo didn't expect this dumb pig to have made the spirit sense mark. Lu Meng flew up close, and only then did he notice Yin Jiutian. Yin Jiutian was on the asteroid, but his figure was one with the void. It was very hard to notice him. You ran quite far and asked a trash to help you. Do you think I would let you go just because of that? Or I can't find you? Lu Meng looked at Yimo in contempt and scanned coldly at Yin Jiutian. He saw Yimo killing Gu Ye with one punch. He believed he could do the same. Plus, he had even greater trump cards. Idiot. Yin Jiutian looked at Lu Meng and cursed speechlessly. Lu Meng was furious. A mere great eternity immortal tertiary stage dared to call him an idiot. You're asking to die. Lu Meng attacked without thinking. Two faint black and white things were released by him. Yimo scanned his spirit sense. It was a golden lantern, and there were two colors in the middle, but the bottom and top were gold. The lantern spun and instantly enveloped a few hundred km radius around Yin Jiutian. There seemed to be countless voices calling for the people nearby to go into the lantern. If this wasn't the void, the place burnt by the lantern would have zero life force. It was as though all the life force were sucked into the golden lantern. Yimo instantly retreated 1,000 km away, but he didn't run. He wasn't scared of both of them, but the golden lantern was very powerful. He wondered what would happen to Yin Jiutian, an idiot indeed. Yin Jiutian sneered and released the mist-like spear. Lu Meng was already annoyed for not being able to bring Yimo inside. Now that Yin Jiutian called him an idiot, he was even more furious. The black and white exploded, and it was as though void itself within the radius was going to be annihilated. Break. Yin Jiutian's face had sliver of seriousness upon seeing this. Crack. Rumble. The black mist spear struck the golden lantern, the two magic artifact entwined together, sweeping up waves of life force and destruction chi. The black and white space suddenly became volatile. Lu Meng was swept back and spat a mouthful of blood in the air. The black and white space suddenly became volatile. Lu Meng was swept back and spat a mouthful of blood in the air. No wonder you are so cocky. So you have a yin-yang lantern? Yin Jiutian snorted in contempt, but that black mist line pierced over without stopping. The nearby space wasn't controlled by Lu Meng's yin-yang lantern, but by Yin Jiutian's black spear. Lu Meng was scared soulless. He never thought that there would be a great eternity immortal in this world to be able to injure him, especially under his yin-yang lantern. Even his lantern was cracked. This was an extreme-grade immortal artifact, the top grade amongst extreme-grade immortal artifact. Hold it. Lu Meng couldn't care about the lantern anymore and blocked it in front of him. Crack. Yimo thought to himself. No wonder his octagonal cauldron cracked so easily, and even his world rock couldn't stop this mist spear. This thing was too scary. Emo was even suspecting this guy's spear was top-grade god artifact. However, the mist had become one with Yin Jotian, and even he couldn't tell. Yin Jotian's power was even scarier. Emo didn't have the confidence to beat him now. Cracking sounds went on, and Lu Meng's yin-yang lantern was struck to pieces, disappearing into the void. Little Immortal King's face was pale. He never expected that with his huge fame, he couldn't even beat an unheard of Great Eternity Immortal Tertiary stage. On top of that, his yin-yang lantern was destroyed. He could only wait for death. Emo saw Little Immortal King was about to be killed but didn't want to intervene again. In fact, tactically, he should have helped and gain up on Yin Jotian. But Emo would rather himself being no match for Yin Jotian than save Little Immortal King, nor would he work with him. The black mist spear neared Little Immortal King's forehead. There was despair in Lu Meng's eyes. He never expected to die in some random guy's hands before even attacking his main target. He still had many means that he didn't even get time to use. Die in front of the Emperor. Yin Jotian's eyes went cold and the spear exploded out black rays wanting to tear Lu Meng to pieces. Who dares to kill my disciple? A furious voice sounded and a hollow figure appeared before Little Immortal King. A boundless force came sweeping over while a hollow hand grabbed at the black mist spear, blocking all of the mist. Master, save me, Little Immortal King said shakily after seeing this figure. Thud. Yin Jotian was pushed back by the force of the figure 100 or so km before spitting blood and stopping. Meng Air, go first. Leave this to Master, the hollow figure said coldly. Yes, Master. Lu Meng released an extreme grade flying immortal artifact and instantly disappeared. The dominant figure then stared coldly at Yin Jotian and said, "You're a mere Great Eternity Immortal Tertiary stage, and you dare to kill Qianzai's disciple?" Yin Jotian wiped the blood from his mouth but said nothing. Clearly he wasn't afraid of this figure. Emo was shocked. He knew this figure was probably Qianzai Immortal Emperor. If he was to kill Little Immortal King before, he would be marked by Qianzai Immortal Emperor. He didn't care, but he had a few friends at Changrong Heaven. Who knows what Qianzai Immortal Emperor would do? This figure was probably just a sliver of his spirit sense, but it was this powerful. Qianzai seemed to care about Little Immortal King a lot and left a sliver of spirit sense on him. After a while, Yin Jotian said coldly, "I didn't kill your disciple, but you ambushed me and injured me. This is over now. If you have to look for trouble with me, Yin will take this." Emo and Yin Jotian both knew that as time went on the spirit sense would weaken. "Haha, insolent brat. I hope you can speak such words when you see me," Qianzai said, and his figure disappeared. Yin Jotian ate a pill and said in contempt, "A mere immortal emperor middle stage. Back in my prime I can crush you at any time." Emo wanted to laugh. Yin Jotian was being abused after he fell from his prime. He was a half-divine, but an immortal emperor middle stage spoke to him in such manner. "Okay, one cocky trash was sent off by me. Now we can resolve the matter between us." Yin Jotian landed before Emo again. He could easily kill those of the same level, but he didn't call himself emperor before Emo. He knew Emo was extremely powerful too, and even if Emo weaker than him, it would be by a limited amount. Emo waved his hand, and the world rock appeared above his hand. "If you want to fight, then fight, stop talking." Emo didn't dare to underestimate Yin Jotian. Yin Jotian had a silver dragon, and it still wasn't out. Meanwhile, Shadowless was still in sleep. Yin Jotian rubbed the black mist in his hands and said, "This time you won't get away." Emo sneered, "It didn't seem to be me who ran away last time." Yin Jotian's face froze for a moment. It really did seem to be him who ran away last time. The black mist disappeared from his hand, and at the same time, void seemed to have turned to hell. Endless killing intent rose up everywhere, humming in the void before forming a boundless black bell and struck down. Emo didn't move. He felt he was in a passive defensive state. He didn't know what Yin Jotian was doing. He felt the threat of this bell wasn't as simple as smashing down, nor was it to bind him. Soon, the bell suddenly stopped in the void and did nothing. Just when Emo didn't know what Yin Jotian was doing, screeching sounds sounded in the void and tins of black arrows tore at Emo. He saw the bell floating in the air, and the black mist didn't seem to reduce in size, but tins of black mist arrows shot at him. Yimo knew he was tricked. He wasn't enough compared to this cunning Yin Jiutian. Instead of waiting for Yin Jiutian to attack, he might as well attack first. Yimo released Zisu and hacked out Rainbow. A purple rainbow stretched across the void vibrantly. Thud thud. The arrows were blocked by the rainbow as rainbow colors splashed everywhere. Most of the arrows were hacked apart, but a few gathered and didn't dissipate. It then continued piercing at Yimo. Yimo was shocked and quickly punched without thinking. Only then did he feel that the nearby space seemed to be under the control of that bell. The killing force whirlpool of hundreds of km radius was swept by Yimo, forming waves of annihilation. Yin Jiutian's eyes looked serious. He had seen this punch. He raised his hand, and suddenly more black mist appeared on his wrist. They gathered again, forming a black, thin spear. It tore through space and struck towards the killing force whirlpool. Rumble. The two clashed together, and violent immortal essence splashed everywhere. Asteroids in thousands of km radius were blown away. Yimo's fist wind paused, and a black arrow broke free, shooting at his chest. Yimo knew the terror of this black arrow, but before he could block it, the bell suddenly emitted a sharp sound. Yimo's heart was like struck by a hammer. His immortal essence crippled and his face went pale. Yimo's immortal essence crippled. His fist whirlpool weakened due to this. Yimo's immortal essence crippled. His fist whirlpool weakened due to this. Yin Jiutian's mist spear broke the weakened fist force whirlpool and pierced at Yimo's forehead. Yimo sweated cold and released Zisu while smashing out World Rock. Rumble. Even though Yin Jiutian's spear was already blocked by the fist whirlpool, it still made Yimo feel backlash of immortal essence when Zisu clashed with the spear. He felt like his organs were on fire. His immortal essence was chaotic. On top of that, the World Rock smashing on the bell created an even more terrifying sound as the World Rock flew back too. Luckily, the World Rock did something and at least cut off the sound for a moment. The instant the bell was struck, the nearby bound space was freed. Yimo spat a few mouthful of blood and flew back out, but a few black arrows flew even faster and pierced into his chest. Yimo had the complete lower hand in this battle and received quite some injuries. Luckily, he finally broke free using the World Rock. If he wasn't a mortal spirit body, those arrows would make his body crippled. Yimo didn't even have time to check his wounds after flying back tens of km and ate a few immortal pills. No wonder you have the right to fight with me. You reached immortal spirit body. Yin Jiutian saw the mist arrows didn't damage Yimo as much as he thought it would and said in shock. However, he didn't ease up on his attacks. The scattered mist gathered into an even more terrifying mist spear. He stepped out and smashed at Yimo again. Even though Yimo was weaker than him now, he had to use this opportunity to kill him, otherwise he couldn't rest easy. The nearby space was immediately moved by this spear and completely bound Yimo's exit. There seemed to be black spear shadows everywhere in the void. Yimo couldn't dodge at all. Yimo never thought of dodging. If it was an immortal king beating him like this, then never mind, but it was a great eternity immortal beating him like this, and he was very annoyed. He had the lower hand before, not because he was that much weaker than Yin Jiutian, but due to his battle experience. Yin Jiutian was so much more experienced in battle than him. Tang Mingrao, smash! Yimo flew back and threw the World Rock at Yin Jiutian again while calling out lightning sand immediately. However, it was just gathering force and didn't release. He was waiting for the perfect opportunity to teach Yin Jiutian a lesson. This was the first time Yimo used two god arts at the same time. Tang Mingrao and lightning sand. Yin Jiutian felt very satisfied to be able to easily suppress Yimo. He wasn't going to give Yimo any breathing opportunity and released the mist spear again. His arrows were also ready. He even prepared mist net outside to catch Yimo if he tried to run. But Yimo never thought of running away. Yin Jiutian was very prideful, but so was he. Yin Jiutian was only Great Eternity Immortal Tertiary stage. Yimo didn't feel his Great Eternity Immortal Primary stage was much weaker than Yin Jiutian. Yimo had never lost to an opponent in the same big cultivation level. How can he run away now? Yin Zhoutian found that when there was still some distance between his mist spear and Yemo's huge world rock landed. Such a powerful god art, Yin Zhoutian was shook. He was a space law controller. How could he not know that Yemo's god art fused space law? If it wasn't space law, the world rock wouldn't immediately be above his head. What made him speechless was that this space law seemed familiar. Even Yin Zhoutian had to admire Yemo. Yemo only saw him use space law once and could learn a sliver of it. To him, Yemo's learning capabilities were unprecedented. Yin Zhoutian's mist spear also formed a huge black mountain and smashed at the world rock. At the same time, he moved the bell hanging in the middle. Seeing the bell make humming sounds, how could Yemo not know Yin Zhoutian was going to use the same move again? He lost to this bell before. At this moment, Yemo immediately released How Heaven Drum. He couldn't keep hiding the drum anymore. Dong dong. The bell made soul-captivating sounds, and Yemo forcefully resisted the crippling of his immortal essence and punched with a pale face. Void. This was the first time Yemo used 3 god arts at once. Waves of weakness came. His body was shaking. He didn't dare to use Wave Kill because it used too much immortal essence and spirit sense. Although it was powerful, but it was hard to kill Yin Zhoutian in one go. At most, it would make Yin Zhoutian heavily injured. If Yin Zhoutian didn't die and he exhausted himself, he would have to await death. The space kill force of 100 km radius was swept up again in this punch. Yin Zhoutian sneered. Yemo was out of tricks. He used the same fist twice. It didn't cause him any damage the first time, and now he dared to use it again? Rumble. The entire void was turned over. Yemo's world rock smashed with Yin Zhoutian's mist mountain. The void rattled violently. Ripples appeared in the void space. It was as though just a bit more power, and this void would be torn open to a new realm. Crack, crack. The void's secret silver of the world rock splashed away, and Yin Zhoutian's mist mountain was also smashed away. Unlike last time, the world rock was evenly matched with the mist mountain this time. However, a large layer of the void's secret silver was gone. Yin Zhoutian sneered, and he gathered his immortal essence and charged at the bell. The bell made even more frequent sounds before forming a long ring. Yemo's face went pale and couldn't resist spitting another mouthful of blood, but his void punch wasn't dispersed this time. Instead, it gathered even more, and the killing force whirlpool was complete. Yin Zhoutian felt something wasn't right. The kill force whirlpool wasn't coming at him but smashed on the drum he released. Dong. A terrifying slaughter sound occurred. It was like an army on 10 million was charging and attacking. The killing force was boundless. Endless killing intent and killing will swept towards Yin Zhoutian. Yin Zhoutian's sea of consciousness felt weak under this sound, and this uncontrollable fear rose up from his heart. Dong. The drum sounded a second time. Void seemed to be crumbling. Heaven and earth seemed to be decimated. Everything shook with this terrifying drum sound. The sound waves spread out like a ripple. Asteroids were pulverized by it. Dong. The drum sounded a third time. It was like the final battle call. Void shook. The drum sound waves spread out non-stop as if tearing this vast reality. Yin Zhoutian couldn't handle such terrifying drum sound. He spat a few mouthfuls of blood. Yin Zhoutian's face was white like paper now. He felt the spear of millions of soldiers pierce into his body. He spat blood while retreating like crazy. Lightning sand. Attack. Yemo's face was also terrifyingly pale, but how could he let up on this opportunity? Lightning flashed in the void, and a huge rumble sounded. Thick black lightning smashed out suddenly from the void onto Yin Zhoutian's head. Yin Zhoutian grunted and dodged. The space ahead of him seemed much more spacious. The lightning sand was about to miss, but Yemo was prepared for Yin Zhoutian's space law. The lightning sand seemed to know where Yin Zhoutian was going to retreat, and suddenly split into two. A part missed, but the other part still fell onto his head. Yin Zhoutian was scared, soulless, and roared, "Tear!" 100-meter-long silver dragon suddenly appeared. There was despair and sadness in its eyes, but it went before the terrifying lightning sand without any hesitation. Rumble. Crack. Blood splashed everywhere. The silver dragon's sad eyes dimmed down. Yin Zhoutian's face was pale like snow. His chest was full of blood. His eyes were bloodshot. He waved his hand, and the black mist formed a shield in a rush to block the lightning sand that was filtered by the silver dragon. Yin Jotian's face was pale like snow. His chest was full of blood. His eyes were bloodshot. He waved his hand, and the black mist formed a shield in a rush to block the lightning sand that was filtered by the silver dragon. Crack! The remaining lightning sand landed all on Yin Jotian's shield. The shield split apart, and Yin Jotian howled in pain and was smashed away a few hundred kilometers. When he got up, his body was completely charred. He was disfigured. Yimo really wanted to give Yin Jotian another lightning sand. He knew that one more and Yin Jotian would be dead for sure. Yin Jotian progressed much faster than him. If he didn't kill Yin Jotian, it would be more dangerous for him the longer he dragged it on. However, although he seemed to be in a much better state than Yin Jotian, he exhausted himself just as much as Yin Jotian. He couldn't even use illusion cloud, much less lightning sand. Using the How Heaven drum made Yimo's immortal essence in an extremely weakened state. Tang Mingrao and lightning sand only made things worse. Yimo just ate a few pills trying to recover his power as quickly as possible. Yin Jotian ate a few pills and put away the silver dragon that only had one breath left. He looked hatefully at Yimo's How Heaven drum. Although he didn't want to say anything, he was very shocked inside. He didn't expect Yimo's luck to be this absurd. He even got How Heaven Grand Emperor's drum. None of them spoke, nor did they have the time to speak. They were both trying desperately to recover their immortal essence and spirit sense. Once their spirit sense and immortal essence recovered to a certain state, it would be the beginning of the next wave of battle. 10 seconds later, Yin Jotian suddenly growled and a fiery red barrier rose up around him. His mist net and mist mountain gathered together as though going to give Yimo a final strike. Yimo knew Yin Jotian still had a lot more cards, much more than him. Even if Yin Jotian was no match for him, it was probably impossible to kill Yin Jotian. This was an old monster who had lived countless years. He definitely had the best of the best escape means. Luckily, he had escape means too. The black mist formed a 10-meter-long spear this time. It hummed before even being released as though keen to devour blood. Yimo caressed Zisu. Waves of killing intent rose out of the air. The more he fought, the more experienced he would become, especially if he fought people like Yin Jotian. Yin Jotian's barrier was definitely to prevent his How Heaven drum. The following battle would only be more arduous for him. However, he didn't have Yin Jotian's luck. He didn't have a defense magic artifact to stop the bell. Even though Yimo made up his mind to get a top-grade defense magic artifact, no matter what, he had to face Yin Jotian now. When the two was about to clash, Yimo's face suddenly changed. The next moment, he put away everything and instant transmissioned, disappearing completely. Yin Jotian dazed. He didn't know why Yimo suddenly ran. He didn't even have the thought of chasing Yimo when Yimo ran. Whether or not he could kill Yimo was one thing, but just this speed was something that even he might not be able to catch up to. But he felt Yimo wasn't scared of him. Why did Yimo run away? He didn't understand. After just hesitating for a second, Yin Jotian's face also changed and took back his bell in less than half a second and also disappeared. However, he went the opposite direction to Yimo. Yin Jotian just left for a few seconds, and an old man appeared where they fought. It was clearly that immortal king Uncle G. Uncle G frowned and looked at the direction Yimo ran off to, as well as the direction Yin Jotian ran off to. He hesitated for a moment and chased after Yin Jotian. Feeling an immortal king was getting closer and closer, Yin Jotian was about to spit blood out of rage for his misfortune. Yimo was a great eternity immortal primary stage, but he was this cunning. This immortal king was quite possibly coming after Yimo. He was going to kill this Yimo no matter what. The reason Yimo could notice Uncle G was coming wasn't because his spirit sense was better than Yin Jotian, but he was more careful when he was heavily injured. He released his spirit sense domain to the max and watched the nearby area at all time. He wasn't afraid of Yin Jotian. Even if he can't beat him, he can always run, but if that Uncle G came, he would be over. He was lucky. Uncle G's spirit sense was expanded to the max, although Yimo's spirit sense didn't touch Uncle G's spirit sense, but Yimo felt it, so he instantly took everything and used instant transmission to get away. From some degree, Uncle G was indeed attracted over by Yemo. Uncle G felt there were people here. He wasn't sure who it was, but he came to check it out. Uncle G immediately knew there was a huge battle here, and the two parties were quite strong. Yemo was very lucky. He was the first to leave and left the disaster to Yin Jiutian. Even if Yin Jiutian doesn't die, he would be suffering quite a lot. Yemo used the instant transmission another 10 times and kept using mobility technique. The immortal essence he barely gathered up before was depleted again. But now, Yemo felt secure. He knew he completely escaped the hunting range of Uncle G. Even though he knew he was safe, Yemo released the space-time boat and flew around for half a day before finding an asteroid and going into the Golden Page world there. Although Yin Jiutian could find the trace left behind by God artifact flying in the void, but Yin Jiutian was a half-divine. Yemo didn't believe Uncle G would be able to do it. Yemo immediately started recovering his immortal essence in the Golden Page world. A few days later, Yemo had completely recovered. Then, he left the Golden Page world. He took out the void location disk to confirm his location. He could still sense the direction of the immortal ship. In the next month, Yemo kept changing places to catch void flying snow. Yemo didn't find another place where the void flying snow grouped up, but in the almost 2 months' time, he caught tins of void flying snow. He had nearly 200 void flying snow. Yemo estimated this was enough to get ranked very ahead, so he released Blue Moon to get back. 3 days later, Yemo stopped. He felt immortal essence wave in the void. There must be a battle. There was also spirit sense barrier formation. Clearly, it didn't allow other people's spirit sense to scan over. Just when Yemo was wondering if he should go over to see, 2 dashing lights came. It was 2 Great Eternity Immortal Tertiary Stage. Yemo didn't move. These 2 weren't enough to worry him. Haha, we stopped another fat one. This person is definitely not bad to be able to appear here. The 2 Great Eternity Immortal appeared on the 2 sides of Yemo. Hearing their words, Yemo realized they were robbers. They were probably waiting on some route to return to the immortal ship. Hand over your void flying snow. I'll let you. The Great Eternity Immortal was suddenly stuck for words. He looked at Yemo worriedly and didn't dare to keep talking. He recognized who Yemo was. It was that Great Eternity Immortal Primary Stage who killed a Great Eternity Immortal Tertiary Stage with 1 punch. He was someone not even D-Wunching dared to challenge. Give what to you? And you will let me go over? Yemo asked. So it's immortal friend Yi. Please go as you please. We're just earning a small fortune here. We don't dare to stop you. The Great Eternity Immortal quickly said. Yemo didn't go over but asked, how come I heard you talk about void flying snow? Do you have a lot of void flying snow? The Great Eternity Immortal's face went bitter and sour. He quickly bowed. We just came here. We gave all the void flying snow to the captain. We really have nothing. Yemo's face sunk and his force expanded over. Killing intent showed just like when he killed Guya on the stage. The Great Eternity Immortal quickly said, we really don't have anything. Our captain is stopping there. Usually we would draw them to our captain and let your captain attack, right? Yemo asked coldly. The Great Eternity Immortal couldn't even speak. I only have 1. The other Great Eternity Immortal quickly took out 1 void flying snow and gave it to Yemo. Yemo took it without hesitation and asked, how many can you get each time? 5. The Great Eternity Immortal quickly answered. Then write a debt bill. You 2 owe me 10. Take me to your captain. Yemo said. The 2 hesitated for a moment, and Yemo's voice went ice cold. What? You don't want to? The 2 hesitated for a moment, and Yemo's voice went ice cold. What? You don't want to? The 2 Great Eternity Immortal glanced at each other and said, we're willing, of course. The 2 would bring Yemo over first. They would have the numbers advantage anyways. Yemo was alone. Yemo extremely detested people blocking the way to rob others, but he didn't want a lot of trouble here. He was just by himself. If they were a team and had quite a lot of people, he would rather have less trouble. The reason he needed an excuse was because his spirit sense blades had broken into the formation and saw that one of the fighters was Chu-Chi. He owes him 1. He had to help now no matter what. There was also someone Yemo recognized who was watching on the side. It was D-Wunching. Yemo wasn't certain if the captain was Di Wancheng. If it was, then he would use an excuse to make Di Wancheng challenge him. From Little Immortal King, Yemo knew that Di Wancheng probably had a sliver of immortal emperor spirit sense on him. If this was so, he might not be able to kill Di Wancheng even if he fought him. That way, he might as well let Di Wancheng challenge him. Chu Qi was only at the lower hand. He wouldn't be in trouble soon. Yemo had the time to look for trouble. He needed to infuriate Di Wancheng. As a captain and Great Eternity Immortal Peak stage, Di Wancheng wouldn't allow him to use such means to take his void flying snow. Chu Qi was on the brink of extreme fatigue, but he knew if he wasn't careful he might lose his life here. Renli Jin was very worried on the side and wanted to charge up many times, but she knew it wouldn't be helping Chu Qi. It would only make him die faster. If she went up, the tens of people on that side could all go up. Just when she was worried, she heard a rumble. A purple sword rays hacked in. The spirit sense barrier formation immediately crippled and 3 people appeared here. Brother Yi, Renli Jin called out in surprise and joy. She knew that they were probably saved now that Yemo came. Chu Qi also saw Yemo come, but he couldn't break free from his opponent. His slight attention on Yemo allowed a flying sword to break through his defenses. Just when it was about to cut him in half, Yemo dashed over and punched this flying sword. The flying sword was hacked away. He then pulled Chu Qi over. Brother Chu, long time no see. Chu Qi panted and said, "Thank you for saving me again, Brother Yi." The Great Eternity Immortal who was about to kill Chu Qi was furious, but seeing it was Yemo, he didn't dare to go up. "What? You want to fight with numbers advantage? 2 against 1? One Great Eternity Immortal immediately yelled. Yemo patted Chu Qi's shoulder, signaling him to rest on the side, and then he turned around saying to that Great Eternity Immortal, "You're right. What can you do to me?" Yemo sneered. There were so many people surrounding the 2 of them, and they had the face to say numbers advantage. He could tell there were 3 factions here. Di Wancheng's side only had 10. Yemo was annoyed for not being able to kill Yin Zhoutian, and now he was robbed on the way. He had 0 patience now. "You're asking to die." The Great Eternity Immortal yelled and signaled a few Great Eternity Immortal behind him. Yemo waved his hand, letting Chu Qi and Renli Jin retreat. He took a step forward. Killing intent exploded all over his body and rose crazily. In just a short time, he formed invisible killing intent ripples around him. "Hurry up and fight. Don't waste time." Yemo flung his hand, and the world rock hung above his head. With this, the nearby space immediately became depressing. It was as though the world rock was the heaven, and if it fell, people could only wait for death. He didn't even care if they gained up on him. He was waiting for Di Wancheng. If Di Wancheng dared to come up, he would kill him even if he had a mortal emperor spirit sense protecting him. Song Luo retreat. A young Great Eternity Immortal Peak stage walked up and yelled. He then came up to Yemo and saluted with his fists. "Immortal friend Yi." "My friend was too blunt." "Tung Shang Heaven by Tan Hope." "Immortal friend, you won't take that seriously." Yemo stared at this Bai Tan. He was very young and had golden hair. The chi from him was very strong. He was probably on par with Lu Meng. "You're the captain?" Yemo asked with disappointment. He thought the captain was Di Wancheng. If Di Wancheng wasn't the captain, Yemo didn't have a way to make him come to him.
"Yes."
Bai Tan smiled and saluted with his fists. "I'm indeed the captain. It's just a duel here. It's definitely fair. Brother Di, Brother Peng, Brother Taisher are all just watching here and being a witness. Of course, as a witness, we won't mistreat them. If Immortal Friend Yi is willing, you can be a witness here too." Yemo immediately realized. Bai Tan was using duels here to collected void flying snow. The witnesses like Di Wancheng and them had a split of the profit. Bai Tan would be the bad guy, and everyone else reaped the profit. If they were reported, the rest of them could also vouch for Bai Tan. Chu Qi sneered, "Really? How come my cousin and I didn't want to hand over the void flying snow, so we weren't allowed to go?" Yemo stared coldly at Bai Tan and said, "It seems that when I passed over here, I needed to hand over void flying snow to pass. Friend is doing a good business, much more effective than collecting the void flying snow in danger." Bai Tan's face changed. Clearly Yemo was bullshitting to start trouble. "What thing are you? Let me test if your fame is real or fake." A great eternity immortal tertiary stage went past Bai Tan and released a six-headed spear at Emo. Bai Tan wanted to stop this great eternity immortal, but then thought if Emo wasn't really that powerful, then all of them might be able to kill them. Emo's killing intent had nowhere to go, and this great eternity immortal was the perfect target. Emo punched just like with Guya. Void. With this punch, Bai Tan's face immediately changed. He realized that Emo's power was greater than his face. But he didn't even have the power to stop it. If he dared to go into the fist wind whirlpool, he would also die. Diwanching sneered. If Bai Tan could suppress Emo with his people, he would go help without hesitation. But seeing this punch, Diwanching's face changed. He knew that Emo's power increased greatly since a few months ago. Diwanching originally wanted to challenge Emo, but seeing this punch, he immediately gave up on the thought. The great eternity immortal was caught by the kill force whirlpool. In that instant, he felt endless void killing force sweeping at him. He would be sucked in the next second, and if he went in there, he had the feeling he would turn to bloody mist. In his fear, the great eternity immortal burned his immortal essence like crazy, trying desperately to break free. Immortal friend ye, please have mercy. I'm willing to pay 5 void flying snow. Bai Tan saw the great eternity immortal was about to be torn to pieces and quickly said. The killing force paused, and Emo kicked the chest of the great eternity immortal, sneering, "Piss off." The great eternity immortal flew back and kept spitting blood in air, but he didn't feel he was insulted. His face was covered in fear. If Bai Tan spoke a little later, he would be dead already. With that kick, the killing intent and killing force nearby dispersed like nothing happened. Bai Tan immediately gave Emo a jade box. Immortal friend ye, thanks for your mercy. Bai Tan felt it ached his heart. Some of them didn't catch a single one for a few months, but he paid 5 immediately. Emo threw it in his storage ring and then took out a jade slip for Bai Tan and said, "This is a debt bill. See if it's fine. If it is, then clear it." Seeing this jade slip, Bai Tan's face changed. The most he ever got in a day here was 5 void flying snow, but he had to split out 2 and could only get 3 himself. Emo wanted 10 immediately now. Seeing this jade slip, Bai Tan's face changed. The most he ever got in a day here was 5 void flying snow, but he had to split out 2 and could only get 3 himself. Emo wanted 10 immediately now. The reason he gave Emo 5 before other than saving his great eternity immortal henchman was mainly because he didn't want to fight with Emo. Emo was too terrifying. Even though they had the numbers advantage, a lot of them would probably die. But taking out 10 void flying snow was going to hurt his bones. He didn't dare to reproach Emo and turned around staring at the great eternity immortal. What is this? The 2 great eternity immortal thought Emo wouldn't be able to take on them all, but now they were completely wrong. They didn't dare to say Emo wanted 10 because of what they said. Seeing the 2 great eternity immortal shaking and not talking, Bai Tan could only saluted with his fists. Immortal friend ye, we've only collected less than 10 void flying snow here. Seeing Emo nod, Bai Tan lit up and said, so I really can't take out 10 void flying snow. So this means you don't want to pay me back? Or should I find the 2 who wrote the debt bill? Emo said plainly. Seeing this, Bai Tan could only clench his teeth and say, I'll pay. If Emo really did that, his authority would be gone and his team would disperse. After taking 10 more void flying snow, Emo didn't even stay for half a second and took Chu Chi and Renli Jin. Too cocky. 1 great eternity immortal peak stage looked at the direction Emo left and cursed. Diwanching sneered, you can challenge him. We'll cheer you on. The great eternity immortal opened his mouth but didn't dare to say anything. Diwanching ignored him and saluted with his fists to Bai Tan and left without even bothering to say anything. With this, Diwanching's team also left. The rest of the people saw this and all left too. Soon, there was only Bai Tan's team left. It was a joke to try rob people on the way here with 10 people. It would be fine for a few rare loners. For hours later, Emo stopped and asked Brother Chu, it's just you 2? You didn't team up with Jin Shang Heaven Team? Chu Chi smiled bitterly. My Uran Immortal residence isn't small, but we're nothing compared to those big sections. They don't want us to go with them, and we don't want to beg them. Emo understood this. It wasn't that all of the big sect members were cocky, but they weren't on the same level at all. The reason he could become friends with those people was due to Ji Shu. If it wasn't due to Ji Shu, he wouldn't know Chi Baitsong nor Jiruyan. How many void flying snow did you get? Yemo asked. Chu Chi thought Yemo wanted void flying snow and quickly took out 3, handing them to Yemo. We were lucky and have a magic artifact for capturing it, so we got 3. It's not used to us. Brother, ye can have it. Yemo waved his hand. I don't want your void flying snow. I want to give all mine to you. What? How can you do that? Chu Chi rejected. Yemo said, I want you to help me. Once you get into top 1000 and get invited by the Immortal Emperor, give the Pangyu Immortal Fruit to me. For compensation, I will give you 2 King Pill. Huh? Chu Chi looked at Yemo in a daze. Even 1 Pangyu Immortal Fruit can't trade for 1 King Pill, but Yemo was willing to give them 2. Yemo coughed. I got a pill cauldron from you. I already owe you. Plus, I'm a level 7 Immortal Pill Grandmaster. With Pangyu Immortal Fruit I can concoct King Pill. Hearing this, Chu Chi and Ren Elijin were completely dazed. A level 7 Immortal Pill Grandmaster had the same status as an Immortal Monarch to even Immortal Emperor. Yemo was actually 1. This was too unbelievable. Seeing the two didn't dare to believe, Yemo explained, I'm indeed a level 7 Immortal Pill Grandmaster, but I offended a powerful person. He has background in Qingwei Heaven. I'm afraid I would be ambushed if I go see Immortal Emperor there so. Yemo's excuse was very bad, but Chu Chi wasn't thinking about this. He just wanted to connect well with this level 7 Immortal Pill Grandmaster, so he quickly said, that's fine. I can help this, but it's very hard for us to get into top 1000 with less than 20. That's fine. Yemo gave a storage ring to Chu Chi. There's 50 here. Take it. Chu Chi was dazed again. He really didn't know how Yemo could get this many, but he didn't ask. He shouldn't ask. Yemo took out another jade slip to Chu Chi and said, Mi Yun Saint of Ethereal Immortal Pond gave me this. If someone asks how you caught so many, this jade slip with your magic artifact and luck is the reason. After this, Yemo let the two leave first. He didn't want them to be suspected. Chu Chi knew what Yemo meant and returned to the immortal ship with Ren Li Jin. Yemo wanted to wait for Li Kuan to come and give her some void flying snow, but an immortal king's spirit sense scanned him. Yemo didn't dare to wait at all. The spirit sense was very familiar. It was Uncle Ji. This was near the immortal ship. Yemo wasn't certain if Uncle Ji would risk attacking him. Yemo immediately used mobility technique and sped up to the immortal ship. In just a few seconds, Uncle Ji appeared at where Yemo was and chased towards him without hesitation. Luckily, Yemo was very close to the immortal ship. With him burning immortal essence like crazy, Yemo could see the ship with his spirit sense in 10 seconds. At this moment, Uncle Ji stopped before him. Yemo stopped and stared at Uncle Ji calmly. This was near the immortal ship. He believed Uncle Ji didn't dare to attack here. Immortal King Master, may I ask why you stopped me? Yemo saluted with his fists. Uncle Ji sneered. Why don't you keep running? Do you think I don't dare to kill you just because you ran here? Then, he grabbed at Yemo, not giving him any chance. He believed he only needed 2 seconds to kill Yemo. That was enough time to clean here. Yemo didn't expect this guy really dared to attack him here. He released World Rock without hesitation. Immortal essence poured inside like crazy to stop this grab. But as soon as he released World Rock, he found he couldn't move at all. Yemo was very shocked. He knew he was in Uncle Ji's Immortal King domain. And here, there was nothing he could do but await death. The pressure of the domain was about to make Yemo spit blood. He released Spirit Sense blades in his Spirit Sense domain like crazy, trying to break open this domain even just by a little. That way, he would be able to use World Rock to stop this grab. Crack. The Immortal King domain just formed and a sliver of crack was created. Uncle Ji was shocked. He didn't expect a Great Eternity Immortal could crack his Immortal King domain a little. Even though he used it casually, it wasn't something a Great Eternity Immortal could break free. Yemo couldn't break free indeed, even if the crack was 10 times larger, but this was enough for him to use World Rock. The World Rock stopped that terrifying hand just when it was about to grab Yemo Rumble. The World Rock was smashed away. Chapter 1771. Who is lying? Chapter 1771. Who is lying? Emo used this opportunity to ignite his immortal essence and punched out, trying to stop this grab. Rumble. Immortal essence exploded, and the nearby void shook. Emo was struck, flying out, splashing blood in the void. Immortal essence and spirit sense disappeared from Emo's body. Even with his immortal spirit body, his chest bones cracked. His immortal spirit body saved his life again. Emo's heart sunk. He just took back the world rock and was full of weakness. He couldn't release it again. Now, an ordinary Foundation establishment state could kill him, much less an immortal King Peak stage. Uncle G's heart sunk. He thought that his grab would kill Emo for certain. Even a great eternity immortal peak stage wouldn't be able to escape under his immortal king domain. Yet a great eternity immortal primary stage could open a sliver in his immortal king domain and stop this grab, and then burn his immortal essence to break out. This was beyond insane. His heart sunk, not because Emo could escape. He knew Emo wouldn't be able to live after that, but he didn't expect killing a great eternity immortal primary stage would cause this much commotion. If this startled the immortal Emperor Master, he would have no place to bury himself. Thinking about this, Uncle G sweated cold and charged forward, wanting to pulverize Emo. Seeing this, Emo sighed. He had used his spirit sense blades to stir up the immortal ship restriction. Why was there still no news now? Just when he was thinking if he should hide into the golden page world, when he heard a sneer. Emo rejoiced and didn't move. It seemed his action was useful. Emo could tell that Quan Immortal Emperor made this sneer. He didn't believe Quan Immortal Emperor would let an immortal king kill before him. Uncle G heard this too, because this sneer was targeted at him. His immortal essence backlashed and blood spilled out of the corner of his mouth immediately. There was terror in his eyes. He didn't dare to keep attacking Emo and said, "Uncle G, greet Quan Immortal Emperor." A great hand grabbed Uncle G and brought up Emo, taking them back to the immortal ship deck in just a few steps. The deck was filled with immortals who had returned. Emo's heart felt a little easy. As long as he was in public view, he wouldn't be threatened with death. When Emo was thrown onto the deck, Likuan screamed and immediately charged over, holding Emo while putting pills into Emo's mouth. "Brother, what happened to you?" Likuan asked in fury and worry. Everyone saw Emo was beaten this heavily, and all tuned in, wanting to know who did this. Some people saw Uncle G, who was thrown onto the deck by Quan Immortal Emperor, and immediately released what happened. Many people still didn't believe that Emo was beaten by an immortal king. If Immortal King attacked, how could Emo live till now? Immortal King didn't kill a great eternity immortal primary stage in one strike. This was too astonishing. Jishu and Chi Baitsong quickly came over. Likuan realized that it was Uncle G who beat Emo. He got up and stared at Uncle G, saying furiously, "You're an immortal king, and you attack a great eternity immortal. Do you not know the immortal ship laws of Quan Immortal Emperor Master?" A few immortal monarch and Quan Immortal Emperor were here, but Likuan didn't dare to curse Uncle G. Quan Immortal Emperor was already annoyed that Uncle G dared to attack Emo and near the ship. This was not taking his words seriously. Likuan's reproach meant that his words had no authority at all, and has made him more uncomfortable. Jurian quickly pulled Likuan over. "Sister Shiyu, don't worry. Quan Immortal Emperor Master will get justice for Brother Yi." Jurian's words were soft, but all the nearby great eternity immortal heard. How could Quan Immortal Emperor not know what Jurian wanted? He ignored the two girls and just stared coldly at Uncle G. "You're an immortal king. Yet you ignore the immortal ship rules to kill a great eternity immortal. Do you think my words are meaningless, or are you divine Emperor Master?" Hearing this, Hua Rushua quickly went up and bowed. "Immortal Emperor Master, there must be a reason for Uncle G to attack Emo. Please have mercy, Immortal Emperor Master. Even if Emo was rude first, I will order Uncle G to apologize." Emo heard this and sneered, but he didn't argue. He knew this woman was better than an Oscar winner in acting. He didn't care about Hua Rushua. He cared that Yin Jotian was fine. He saw Yin Jotian in the middle of the crowd. His face was very bad, seemingly due to loss of blood. When Emo stared at him, Yin Jotian stared back with great killing intent. Emo sighed. Yin Jotian was quite amazing. He was only this far from the ship, but didn't get away. If it wasn't for Mi Quan, Immortal Emperor, he would almost be disintegrated. Yin Jiutian was chased by Uncle Ji, but came back alive. This guy was a running away specialist. Seeing the degree of Yi Mo's injuries, his sea of consciousness was probably injured too. Yin Jiutian felt a little satisfied seeing this. But thinking about how Yi Mo almost made him die to Uncle Ji, his teeth itched with hatred. He was in no better state than Yi Mo before. If he didn't use blood sacrifice, he wouldn't be able to stand here. Mi Quan, Immortal Emperor, really wanted to kill Uncle Ji straight up, but he knew Hua Rushua's background. He wasn't afraid of Demon Joy sect, but it wasn't smart to offend a sect like that. How could Uncle Ji not know what Hua Rushua meant? He bowed. Mi Quan, Immortal Emperor Master. I saw Yi Mo on the way back alone, so I asked out of goodwill, but instead he insulted me and used all sorts of foul language. As an immortal king, I was cursed by a great eternity immortal like this. I really couldn't take it, so I wanted to teach him a lesson. Mi Quan's face eased. He didn't believe Yi Mo would be stupid enough to curse an immortal king, but this was an appropriate excuse. Uncle Ji wasn't completely disregarding the rules here, so he had a little face. After all, offending someone with a higher cultivation level was taboo in the immortal realm. They could be killed at any time. My brother would definitely not curse you. You have no evidence, Li Kuan said in desperation. Yi Mo waved his hand signaling her to stop talking and then took out a few pills to eat before bowing to Mi Quan, Immortal Emperor. Mi Quan, Immortal Emperor Master. Wan Bei was definitely very respectful to Uncle Ji, Immortal King. Cursing him is completely false. Uncle Ji interrupted. Of course you wouldn't admit it now. You already forgot how you cursed me? Oh, what did I say? Yi Mo asked. Seeing Uncle Ji's face paused, Hua Rushua immediately said, Yi Mo, Uncle Ji is much older than you. You cursed him and he feels uncomfortable. Is he to repeat it? Yi Mo said calmly. Since he can't say it, it means that I didn't curse him. If he says what I said, and I don't have evidence, then he's right and I can stop chasing this up. You don't have the right to chase it up. Now, we're going to chase up with you. Uncle Ji, say what Yi Mo cursed you with. Hua Rushua immediately said. Mi Quan, Immortal Emperor's face was bleak, but said nothing. Clearly he wanted both sides to take out evidence. Uncle Ji immediately said, furious, he's a great eternity immortal, but he calls me garbage animal. He says I'm raised by a bitch. Hearing this, I really couldn't handle it, so I attacked immediately. All the immortals fell silent now. What Yi Mo said was enough for death sentence. Mi Quan, Immortal Emperor, didn't believe this, but in the logic of the immortal realm, if both parties didn't have evidence, then whomever was stronger had the reason to his side. He looked at Yi Mo coldly. Yi Mo, you're a mere great eternity immortal, and you dare to curse an immortal king like this. You deserve to die. Yi Mo bowed. Immortal Emperor Master, I didn't curse him at all, and I was very polite to him. However, he said, keep running. Do you think I won't dare to kill you just because you ran here? Then he immediately attacked to kill me. Immortal Emperor Master, I never said this. Yi Mo didn't say anything respectful to me. Uncle Ji argued. Yi Mo bowed again. Immortal Emperor Master, Wan Bei has evidence. Oh. Mi Quan, Immortal Emperor, looked at Yi Mo in confusion. If you have evidence, why don't you take it out earlier? Yes, Wan Bei was wronged. In my worry I forgot. Then Yi Mo took out a crystal ball and released it into the air. At the same time, he sneered to himself, if I took it out earlier, I wouldn't be able to hear this old thing curse himself. Chapter 1772. Kill Immortal King. Chapter 1772. Kill Immortal King. Seeing Yi Mo take out the crystal ball, Uncle Ji's face went pale. He finally realized why Yi Mo was so respectful to him when he saw him and called him master. This little bastard had a scheme already. The huge crystal ball released a clear scene. In the scene, Yi Mo respectfully saluted with his fists. Immortal King Master, may I ask why you stopped me? But Uncle Ji sneered inside, why don't you keep running? Do you think I don't dare to kill you here? Then he attacked, and the crystal ball went blurry. Just an instant, those who wanted to see Yi Mo's pitiful fate all looked at Uncle Ji with sympathy. An immortal king was played by a great eternity immortal primary stage with his hands, and cursed himself so cheerfully. Yi Mo took out the crystal ball later. and asked what he said, clearly wanting the immortal king to curse himself first. Yemo bowed to Mi Quan, immortal emperor, and said, "Thank you, immortal emperor master, for saving my life. Yemo will repay you once my cultivation is successful." Although Mi Quan, immortal emperor, didn't come just to save him, Yemo was still very grateful. Mi Quan, immortal emperor, nodded. How could Yemo's little tricks get past him? However, since Yemo had evidence, it was easy for him now. He was an immortal emperor and didn't expect Yemo to pay him back, but Yemo's will was good. "Uncle G, do you have anything to say?" Mi Quan, immortal emperor, looked coldly at Uncle G. Uncle G's face was pale. The evidence was so clear. What could he say? If Mi Quan, immortal emperor, didn't intervene in this personally, he could say the crystal ball was fake. But everyone knew this wasn't fake. There were too many ways to tell, and plus, Yemo didn't have the time to make a fake. Yemo saluted with his fists to Uncle G, immortal king. "If you didn't say it yourself, I wouldn't even know you were raised by a bitch. You." Uncle G was furious and spat a mouthful of blood. Hua Rushue's face was cold. She knew that it was pointless to beg Mi Quan, immortal emperor, for mercy. She could only walk up to Yemo pitifully. "Brother, ye please let Uncle G go this time. Rushue will definitely pay you back." The killing intent in Yemo's heart didn't seep out at all. He would never show mercy to those who wanted to kill him. But Yemo wasn't dumb. He knew the reason Mi Quan, immortal emperor, didn't judge Uncle G, yet not because there wasn't evidence, but he was concerned with Demon Joy sect a little. Yemo nodded to Hua Rushue and said to Mi Quan, immortal emperor, "Uncle Ji, immortal king, bound me with immortal king domain and grabbed at me. As a great eternity immortal facing an immortal king, I'm willing to repay hatred with goodwill." Hua Rushue's face lit up. In her heart, she already considered Yemo dead, but she couldn't show it now. Mi Quan, immortal emperor, nodded and seemed to realize Yemo's predicament. He thought Yemo just wanted Uncle Ji to compensate some immortal crystals, but then Yemo said, "So, I want to also punch him while he's bound. I know my punch wouldn't even be able to move his clothes, but this is fair." Hearing this, the atmosphere paused again. Many had seen the power of Yemo's punch. With that, even if Uncle G wasn't dead, he would be heavily injured. Many people didn't understand. Since Yemo gave up on revenge, punching this would only draw more enmity. Hua Rushue's face changed. She had seen Yemo's punch. Could Uncle G block this? Just when Hua Rushue wanted to argue, Mi Quan, immortal emperor, nodded. "That's fine. He can't move now. Punch him. After you're done, I will take him away and deal with him according to the rules." Mi Quan, immortal emperor, didn't know the power of Yemo's punch. He thought Yemo was just finding a way down. With this said, Hua Rushue could only shut up. Taking Uncle G away to deal with was just letting him go. Even Uncle G signaled Hua Rushue to stop talking. Yemo was strong, but he wouldn't be able to kill him with one punch, especially how Yemo was heavily injured. The other immortal monarchs and immortal kings tensed up. They knew that his last sentence was spoken to them. He probably wouldn't kill Uncle G, but would be teaching him a lesson and even make Demon Joy sect pay greatly. Yemo had recovered more than half of his immortal essence and spirit sense. If an immortal king was controlled and he couldn't kill him, then he would be too weak. "Do it," Mi Quan, immortal emperor, said. Yemo took a breath and walked up to Uncle G. He didn't prepare at all and just punched. Seeing this, everyone knew Yemo gave up on killing Uncle G. Otherwise, he could use a much more powerful punch than this. But Mi Quan, immortal emperor's eyes narrowed. He could feel that all the invisible lethal force in the nearby space being sucked away by this punch. He knew this punch was probably going to kill Uncle G. Despite this, he still didn't really believe that a great eternity immortal could kill an immortal king with one punch. However, he did approve of Yemo to be able to punch without spilling out any lethal force. No wonder he could escape from Immortal King as Git. Seeing this punch, Uncle G breathed easy. It seemed Yemo knew Demon Joy sect wasn't easy to mess with. But when this punch neared his heart, there was a sudden extreme terror rising up in his chest. As an Immortal King, he realized that Yemo secretly contained all the lethal force in the punch. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to tell at all. It seemed as though Yemo didn't use full power, but this punch was trying to kill him. Uncle G immediately wanted to resist, but he was already subjugated by Mi Quan, Immortal Emperor. There was despair in his eyes. Seeing this despair, Emo sneered. His void punch could be dramatic or silent like this. The terrifying lethal force swept over in Uncle G's meridians, forming small, lethal force whirlpools. He wouldn't do this to other people, but for this Uncle G, he must kill this guy. The crazy, lethal force rolled around in his body. Uncle G could only feel the whirlpools expand in his body, tearing all the meridians. Seeing blood flow out of Uncle G's eyes and ears, Hua Rushue immediately knew things weren't good. Thud! Before Hua Rushue could stop it, Emo's punch landed on Uncle G's chest. Uncle G's despaired eyes dimmed down. Moments later, his body turned into a bloody mist. Not even his essence spirit remained. Other than a few immortal monarch and Mi Quan immortal emperor who saw the premonition, everyone else was dazed. Emo really was this decisive and killed an immortal king with one punch? No wonder he said not even Uncle G's clothes would flip. There would be no clothes after this. That skinny immortal monarch primary stage frowned. He dealt with the business between Emo and Uncle G. He even went against the rules. Not it seemed this little great eternity immortal was very vengeful. Very well. The Demon Joy sect remembers you. Hua Rushue stared at Emo coldly. Di Wenqing's heart shivered upon seeing this. He didn't believe Emo really dared to kill a mortal king. If he fell into Emo's hands, he wouldn't need to use his sect to threaten Emo. This guy didn't care at all. Only Yin Jiutian sneered. Using an emperor's sect to threaten Emo was a joke. He knew very clearly what sort of a person Emo was. Emo didn't even take him, a half-divine. Seriously, emperor sect was nothing. Mi Quan immortal emperor interrupted this eerie scene and said, 3 months' time is about to be up. Please all great eternity immortal go up and tally the void flying snow they got and wait on the side for results. Exchange of void flying snow is not allowed on the ship. Offenders will be disqualified. Emo just wanted to give some void flying snow to Li Kuan and heard this, so he immediately stopped. Chapter 1773 Feng Kong Grand Emperor. Chapter 1773 Feng Kong Grand Emperor Mi Quan finished, and the immortals and the deck started lining up to hand up their void flying snow. Soon, Emo found there were only tens of thousands of immortals handing them up. This meant only 1 in 10 was handing it up. Emo guessed that to get top 1,000, most of the void flying snow were gathered on one person. The big screen on the deck started to show a leaderboard. Emo saw that those who were ahead had tens, the most had 80. Some solo cultivators only had 1 or 2. Emo handed out 3 void flying snow and stood on the side. 3 was quite a lot for one person. A day later, the tally was finished. 3 months' time was up, as the ship restriction closed. Those immortals who didn't get back had no chance to come back on even if they were alive. On the ranking, Li Kuan was ranked 636 th. Ji Shu and them had no ranking. Li Kuan got 37 void flying snow. Emo knew that Ji Shu and them gave all their void flying snow to Li Kuan. Chu Chi got 53 and was ranked 278 th. Emo looked at Yin Jiutian. He got 34 and was ranked 907 th. There were quite a lot of people who got the same number of void flying snow. Their rank was divided based on the quality of the void flying snow. Most people didn't care about their rank. They only cared if they could get into top 1,000. Sister Shiyu, did your team give all the void flying snow to you? Emo asked. Chi Baitsong answered, no. Only me, Ji Shu, In Hui, and Jiruyan. The rest of the people aren't here, but we didn't get much. Shiyu got most of them. Li Kuan smiled. Luckily, we had Mi Yun Saint's Jaddle Sip, and I was lucky, so I got 29. Emo understood what Li Kuan meant. She got 29 not because of Mi Yun's Jade Slip, but because of Spirit Will 9 transformations. After the ranking was done, Mi Quan Immortal Emperor said loudly, the top 1,000 can come up and get their Jade card now. The rest of you will be able to get a reward based on the void flying snow you have contributed. Emo didn't choose any pills. He chose tins of tasty level 5 Immortal Spirit Fruit. Everyone left after the ranking was done, but Emo had some news saying that the top 1,000 might not get Pengyu Immortal Fruit straight up. They would be getting a spot to go find Pengyu Immortal Fruit. Emo didn't care. No matter what, as long as he got a Pengyu immortal fruit, it would be fine. He believed even if it was just one spot, Chu Chi would come to him. Even if he didn't get the fruit, he didn't want to go see a few immortal emperor. Feng Kong Immortal Emperor was a mortal emperor tertiary stage. Yemo wasn't certain if this was the Emperor Feng who threw him into Luo Yu cultivation realm, but if it was, then that immortal emperor tertiary stage might be able to realize something. The main reason was that Yemo was scared they could see his sea of consciousness. If the chaos world was exposed, he would be over. A few months later, Yemo was still in cultivation. He didn't want to go out and cause trouble. At the same time, he needed to cure his injuries. On top of that, he wanted to keep refining how Heaven Drum. Yemo didn't expect it to have such power. He only controlled a few levels of restriction and could release such huge power. If he completely controlled the drum, how terrifying would its power be? But Yemo knew that only Yin Jiutian knew about it, and he didn't dare to spill it. If someone else knew, no good would come out of it. Half a year later, Yemo came out of solitary cultivation. Based on time, Yemo calculated that they were almost at Qingwei Heaven. Qingwei Heaven was extremely far, but Yemo knew this immortal ship was very substantial. It could be ranked into top 5 in all of the immortal ships in the Grand Heaven domain. It was extremely fast and sturdy. This ship was even faster than his replica space-time boat. When he came out of solitary cultivation, he found that all the great Eternity Immortal who saw him greeted him politely. He didn't want this, but Yemo knew that his name spread out. Jishu and them immediately invited Yemo over. Due to Yemo, challenges had nothing to do with them these half-year. Another month later, the immortal ship stopped at a square near Qingwei Heaven Hongyu Immortal City. Yemo followed a few 100,000 immortals and got off the ship to where they were arranged to stay. Some big sect people already came here, and they met up with their sect members immediately. Li Kuan's sect also had people to come greet them. Those who got into top 1,000 were greeted nicely. Yemo didn't have the Jade card and wasn't solo cultivator. They had the worst treatment and could only follow everyone to the most ordinary cultivation home and wait for the call of immortal emperors. A few killing intent scanned past Yemo. Yemo breathed easy instead. It was an immortal monarch from Demon Joy sect here, meeting with Hua Rushue. It wasn't an immortal emperor. Plus, even a mortal emperor didn't dare to easily kill people. 3 days passed quickly. Yemo didn't leave his residence. He had decided to go as soon as he got the Pengyu immortal fruit. Qingwei Heaven definitely wasn't an easy place to stay. It was too dangerous here. Li Kuan had the emperor's sect to take care of her, so he didn't need to worry. On the 4th day, it was the day that the few immortal emperors saw the 1,000 great eternity immortals. Including the 100 chosen from Qingwei Heaven, 1,100 great eternity immortals will be seen by the top immortal emperors. Yemo and those who weren't called stayed at the square seeing the formation screen. Jishu and Qi Baitsong were young city lords, but their status here weren't much higher than Yemo and could only watch the formation screen just like Yemo. Rinli Jin had no one she knew, so she could only follow Yemo. The formation screen was very clear. In it, a huge palace was decorated with the best immortal materials. 1,100 great eternity immortals were led into the palace by female immortals on the 2 sides. 5 minutes later, a few emperor-crested immortal emperors walked onto the stage. Even through the formation, the great eternity immortals at the square felt the power and authority of immortal emperor. "Brother Yi, are you okay?" Jiruyan asked. She was by Yemo's side, and Yemo was shaking. His face was pale. "I'm fine. It's some cultivation problem and my body is reacting to the Emperor Qi," Yemo quickly said and released his clenched fist. He rejoiced his decision. If he was seen by immortal emperors, his attitude would definitely be noticed by all immortal emperors. Yemo breathed easy. The reason he had such reaction was because he recognized one of them to be Emperor Feng. That person is without a doubt Feng Kong Grand Emperor. He saw it very clearly at Samsara Dao in the 7 Refined Tower. It was the image of his past life. At this moment, he had a smile and seemed very amicable, but Yemo would never forget the scene where that crying woman hugged this immortal emperor's leg and begged for mercy. However, This Feng Kong Grand Emperor kicked him and that woman off the stairs without hesitation and then ordered him to be thrown into a spirit chi-deprived cultivation realm. Yemo's fists were shaky. He suddenly thought of that woman. Who was that woman to him? Where was she? But Yemo didn't even dare to ask. Seeing this smiling Feng Kong Grand Emperor, Yemo remembered how Heaven Grand Emperor's words, Feng Kong is the most sinister and bleak character. On the surface, he seems the weakest, but in fact, he's the strongest of the 4 Grand Emperors. At the top of the palace, tens of extremely beautiful female immortal danced, bringing out waves of immortal clouds. The dance was extremely beautiful and captivating, but Yemo didn't even look at them. He was thinking about why Feng Kong Grand Emperor wanted to kill him. Chapter 1774. Little Heaven Domain. Chapter 1774. Little Heaven Domain. After the dance, a group of female immortal carried immortal wine to these 1,100 Great Eternity Immortals. The Great Eternity Immortals on the square looked in admiration. Without a doubt, the wine was made from the best immortal liquid that was beneficial for both cultivation and Tao. After the immortals drank, a long-bearded handsome man walked out. He signaled the Great Eternity Immortals to sit before saying, "Every Pengyu immortal fruit harvest season gives people anticipation. It's also the time that our immortal realm prodigies shine. To be able to come here today, you're the very elite great immortals of the 33 heaven domains. As the Qingwei Heaven Lord, I welcome you all greatly." Yemo looked and recognized it to be Wei Feng, Immortal Emperor. It said he's a Grand Emperor. Yemo immediately thought of Wushuang, Immortal Emperor. Seeing this guy, Wushuang, Immortal Emperor, was probably ambushed in this Hongyu Immortal City. Just what woman made Wushuang, Immortal Emperor, unable to forget? Wei Feng, Immortal Emperor's voice continued to sound. Not only Feng Kong Grand Emperor and Dragon River Grand Emperor came this time, but also Yuandong Heaven Zhongren Immortal Emperor, Tang Shang Heaven Kuei Qian Immortal Emperor, Fendu Heaven Yuan Yun Immortal Emperor. On top of that, there are valuable guests from the Emperor sects and Monarch sects of the big heaven domains. Although there's some problem with this Pengyu Immortal Fruit social, but I believe after Feng Kong Grand Emperor explains things, everyone would have even greater hopes. Feng Kong Grand Emperor smiled and nodded. Last time at Yuandong Heaven Emperor Fall Mountain, we lost some elite great immortals. It pains my heart greatly. We're all old. The future of the immortal realm and the 33 heavens would need you all. Everyone here is Great Eternity Immortal Tertiary Stage and the elite of the big heaven domains. I believe the most excellent immortal emperor of the 33 heavens will be coming amongst you. Yemo didn't like Feng Kong Grand Emperor, but he had to admit he was right. This place indeed gathered the best Great Eternity Immortal in the grand heaven domains. Every immortal emperor and immortal monarch here came from Great Eternity Immortal. We know the hardship of reaching Immortal King from Great Eternity Immortal. Feng Kong Grand Emperor spoke slowly and seemed very amicable, but perhaps due to his experience, Yemo felt Feng Kong Grand Emperor seemed very fake. To be able to sit here, you have all proved your ability. But this isn't enough for you to get a Pengyu Immortal Fruit without any effort. Ever since the immortal realms split apart, Pengyu Immortal Fruit have become rarer and rarer. Hearing this, Yemo frowned. He felt he was tricked. Feng Kong Grand Emperor said nice things, but they were meaningless. Not only Yemo, but the other Great Eternity Immortals in the palace noticed something wasn't right. Feng Kong Grand Emperor didn't seem to notice this and continued this time. The Qingwei Heaven Pengyu Immortal Fruit Garden is mature again, but the fruits can't be distributed to your hands. The Pengyu Immortal Garden had withered a few thousand years ago. In order to not crush everyone's hopes, we didn't say this. Discussion rose everywhere in the square. Pengyu Immortal Fruit was an extremely rare immortal fruit. It was rarer than level 8 and level 9 Immortal Spirit Herb. Many Great Eternity Immortal Peak Stage were stuck there due to not having Yi King Pill. Some people even began to doubt Feng Kong Grand Emperor, saying that the Immortal Spirit Herb Garden suddenly withered. The Pengyu Immortal Fruits would mature once every 100,000 years, and during this time, there would be a Pengyu Immortal Fruit social held in Qingwei Heaven. The previous Heaven Lord of Qinghe Heaven Hongyu Immortal Emperor never stopped it once. Many immortal kings of other heaven domains reached their state due to the Pengyu fruit social. At the prime, a third of the great eternity immortals coming would be able to get Pengyu immortal fruit. Later on, there were less and less people getting Pengyu immortal fruit. This time, there was only 1,100. But even so, no one dared to say anything. Now, Feng Kong Grand Emperor said they withered a few thousand years ago, and this broke everyone's hopes and dreams. People immediately became suspicious. I remembered when Hongyu Immortal Emperor had the Pengyu social. The glory of that was unforgettable. Hongyu Immortal Emperor called all the great eternity immortal in Qingwei heaven over. Yeah, now the Heaven Lord is Wei Feng Immortal Emperor. Why is there less and less people called to the social? Now they're saying there's none left. Aren't they playing with us? Most of these people guessing came from other heaven domains. Yimo heard of Hongyu Immortal Emperor, how Heaven Grand Emperor told him Qingwei Heaven Lord was Hongyu Immortal Emperor, but for some reason, it changed to Wei Feng Immortal Emperor. Feng Kong Grand Emperor said pitifully, "We are also regretful that the Pengyu Immortal Garden is withering. This would mean less and less immortal kings. This is a huge blow to the 33 heavens. If one day there was not a single Pengyu immortal fruit left, wouldn't that mean the end of the immortal realm heritage?" Feng Kong Grand Emperor's tone seemed to have influenced everyone, and they stopped talking. In fact, we Immortal Emperor are more worried. Luckily, the heavens doesn't end our hope. After searching for a few thousand years, we finally found a place no one has been in before. There's not only Pengyu fruit, but also level 7 and above Immortal Spirit Herb as well as Chaos Immortal Spirit items. These words immediately lit up everyone's excitement. Even some big sects were in shock. If Feng Kong Grand Emperor didn't say this, they wouldn't know these few Immortal Emperor found a place with Chaos Spirit item. In that instant, Feng Kong Grand Emperor's public image became great. A Grand Emperor found such a valuable place, but still took it out to share with everyone. Such manner, such magnanimity was worth everyone worshipping. The immortals, whether in the palace or in the square, became restless. Some sect members wanted to bring this news back immediately, but it was impossible to send news across heaven domains. Yimo didn't know if Feng Kong Grand Emperor was telling the truth, but he believed Feng Kong Grand Emperor was definitely not that generous. Hundreds of millions of years ago, the Divine Emperor battle split apart the immortal realm into 33 heavens. In fact, there's actually some smaller heaven domain forgotten in the void. Those heaven domains without great fortune became void planets and asteroids. Some dissipated after the ravage of time, but some had small fortune and was lost in the corners of the void, becoming small heaven domain. Feng Kong Grand Emperor described in ancient history, and even Yimo only heard these things for the first time. Feng Kong Grand Emperor continued, "Most of these small heaven domains have dissipated, but a small part of them are protected by natural formations in the void, and even has atmosphere forming a small astral region. These astral regions have never been damaged, nor been stepped foot on, so there's immortal spirit herb everywhere. Even some chaos items hide in here." Just when everyone was expecting Feng Kong Grand Emperor to say where it was and let everyone go and harvest, Feng Kong Grand Emperor said dejectedly, however, "Not everyone can go in." Chapter 1775, Jade Card. Chapter 1775, Jade Card. It was indeed so. If it wasn't, Yimo would feel it wasn't right. Many people thought the same as Yimo, but more were disappointed. Seeing everyone calm down, Feng Kong Grand Emperor continued, "The small heaven domain existed for countless years, and some void chaos items hid in there too. If status immortal goes in, their chi would startle these chaos items and make them flee. So after discussion, we decided to not touch small heaven domain and use this Pengyu immortal fruit social to send the top 1,100 great eternity immortals into the small heaven domain." The square went into discussion again. If it was really so, then wouldn't the 1,100 people be digging a gold mine? They wondered if these people would get to keep what they found. Yimo was confused. Was this the reason why they used void flying snow to decide the rankings? Yimo definitely didn't believe that status immortals going in would start chaos spirit items. He knew he wasn't the only one who didn't believe this, but he couldn't find a reason not to believe it. The things inside the small heaven domain belongs to everyone. Although we choose 1,100 representatives to go in, it's for the entire heaven domain to benefit. Those who go in must only agree to keep 10% of what they get and let the rest be distributed. If they're not willing, they can give their spot to someone else. Chaos spirit items must be handed over and planted in the Qingwei Heaven Pengyu Immortal Fruit Garden. No one was unhappy with Feng Kong Grand Emperor's words. How could the immortal spirit herb inside a heaven domain that hadn't been opened for 100 million years be simple? 10% was very much already as for chaos spirit item. Who could even find it? This batch can only stay for 3 days. After 3 days you must come out. Feng Kong Grand Emperor's words bewildered everyone again. How big would a small heaven domain be? How many things would they be able to get with just 3 days? Feng Kong Grand Emperor said, this is because there's spirit-crippling demonic qi inside. If you stay in there for too long, your spirit root would cripple. The higher your power, the faster your spirit root would cripple. Thus, those above Immortal King isn't suited to go in. Yimo realized. No wonder Feng Kong Grand Emperor and them didn't want to go in. This was the main reason. Jin Bingyu's spirit root crippled when her nirvana failed too. He helped Jun Bingyu find void flying snow to concoct flying snow pill. Yimo realized now why the great eternity immortal had to go catch void flying snow. Feng Kong Grand Emperor continued, the main reason of getting everyone to capture void flying snow is to concoct flying snow pill. It can not only stop spirit root crippling, but also purify the spirit root of those who enter the small heaven domain. However, we can only give 3 flying snow pill to everyone who goes in. Each pill will last a day. 3 pills can only last 3 days, so after 3 days, everyone who goes in must crush the jade card to teleport out. Now, it wasn't just Yimo sneering, but also some knowledgeable immortal monarchs and immortal kings. Even if they got something precious in the small heaven domain, 3 days wasn't enough for them to use it for cultivation. This way they could only hand the best things to the immortal emperor to distribute. Yimo sneered also because he had a few bottles of flying snow pill and 100 or so void flying snow. He could forge them at any time. Yimo guessed these immortal emperors wouldn't make these rules for ordinary level 7 and level 8 immortal spirit herbs. There was definitely something they wanted inside, but they couldn't go into search. Other than these 1,100 people, the rest of the great eternity immortal from Qingwei Heaven have a chance to go in too. I will arrange a specific time. Flying snow pill concoction needs a few days. 10 days later, everyone gather at Hongyu Square. Feng Kong Grand Emperor waved his hand, and a few female immortals sent jade cards to the 1,100 people in here. Seeing this, the few immortal emperors got up to leave, but Yimo was confused. They gave out the jade cards to go in this early. Were they not scared of something happening? Everyone would want these jade cards, and if people fought over it, many sects would be willing to take risks. When the immortal emperors left, they said nothing about this. Clearly they meant people could fight over it. Renli Jean was worried. Clearly she knew the dangers of this. If they were from an emperor sect or big sect it would be fine, but they were alone like Yimo. They were like a 3-year-old holding a gold bar walking in robber's lair. Li Kuan was taken away by Longyu Emperor sect as soon as she came out. Chu Qi came nervously to Yimo. He really wanted to give the jade card to Yimo, but was afraid of bringing trouble to him. Even if he gave it to Yimo, other people wouldn't know, and perhaps he would be harmed too. Brother Yi, what do we do? Chu Qi asked. Yimo knew that not only Chu Qi couldn't take the card, but he couldn't too. Show me the jade card, Yimo said. When Chu Qi showed the card, countless eyes stared at it. If this wasn't the square, people would have come over to rob it already. Yimo scanned with spirit sense and found it was indeed a teleportation formation. Yimo was an experienced level 5 immortal formation great master. With his spirit will 9 transformations, his spirit sense could cut into the card and look at it carefully. In a short while, Yimo remembered the teleportation formation. After remembering how the card is made, Yimo gave it back to Chu Qi. Sell this jade card. Don't sell for too much. 100 million immortal crystals is enough. Seeing Jishu and Qi Baitsong tempted, Yimo immediately said, don't buy it. Your backgrounds aren't powerful enough. Buying it is harming yourself. Chu Qi knew there was no other way around this. He said guiltily, Brother Yi, I'm truly sorry. I thought I would be able to get a Pengyu immortal fruit straight up, but instead this happened. Don't worry, it not impossible to reach Immortal King without it. Yemo patted. Chu-Chi was decisive and knew the earlier he dealt with this the better. Chu-Chi took out the jade card and said, I know my capabilities are limited. Now I will sell a small heaven domain jade card. 100 million immortal crystals. Who wants it? Take it? I do. This is 100 million immortal crystals. Someone took out an immortal crystals card immediately. Chu-Chi didn't want for a second bid and just took the immortal crystals and handed the jade card over. I'll pay 500 million immortal crystals. Another bid sounded. Chu-Chi didn't regret selling it for 100 million immortal crystals at all. He breathed easy instead. 100 million immortal crystals was nothing to the great eternity immortals here. Brother Yi, we'll go visit Shiyu. Chi Baitsong and them said. Chu-Chi knew Yemo didn't care about this 100 million immortal crystals and didn't even take it out. He said to Yemo, Brother Yi, we've benefited something here. I'm planning to go visit other places in Qingwei Heaven with my cousin. Yemo approved. Okay, if the opportunity arises, I will go visit you guys at Jinshang Heaven. Chapter 1776. How to Enter Small Heaven Domain. Chapter 1776. How to Enter Small Heaven Domain. What troubled Yemo was that he didn't know how to go in. Every jade card was extremely precious and sects would be guarding it very closely. Those people like Chu-Chi would have handed it out already. Yemo went back to his place. Even though he had many secrets, but he didn't know how to go in. He really wanted to discuss with Li Kuan, but he knew she was definitely protected heavily. A day later, Yemo decided he wasn't going to keep waiting like this. Just when he wanted to go out for a walk, the restriction at his door sounded. Yemo opened it and saw the purple-dressed female immortal and asked in shock, Miyun Saint, how did you get out at this time? Miyun immediately came in and put on the restriction before saying, why can't I come out? The ethereal immortal pawn got 2 jade cards this time, and they're not on me. Who dares offend the ethereal immortal pawn? Yemo thought about it and agreed. What business do you have with me? Your ethereal immortal pawn, immortal monarch Qian Bais are all here, coming here again. Miyun smiled because someone reported me. So my master knows about me coming to you on the immortal ship. So, I might as well not hide it. By the way, my master is very interested in you. Would you be interested in coming to see my master? Yemo's heart was shook. What did Miyun's master want to see him for? Her master would at least be immortal monarch. He wouldn't dare to go see an immortal monarch alone. Thinking about this, Yemo quickly waved his hand. I like being alone. I would be very rude seeing Qian Bei. I won't go. Miyun seemed to know Yemo didn't want to see her master and said, Martial Brother Yi, after I cultivated your stealth cultivation method, I realized I'm a frog at the bottom of a well. There's such wonderful cultivation method. It's probably immortal grade peak, right? Yemo's face sunk. What Miyun mean by saying this? Miyun didn't seem to see Yemo's complexion and continued, by the way, Martial Brother Yi, I heard there's an extremely huge social tonight at Hongyu Immortal City. You know the immortal monarch selling the 5 Olympian stone stool on the ship? It's said he's participating in this auction. Yemo was shocked. Why did she say this? Did she realize he was interested in the stone stool? Plus, this immortal monarch dared to sell that stone stool publicly here. Did he not want to live? There were so many immortal emperors here. Which immortal emperor didn't know 5-element stone stools involve the chaos world? Yemo didn't believe an immortal monarch wouldn't realize this. Since he still dared to do this, it meant that he wasn't afraid of immortal emperors. I want to go see the auction. Are you willing to go? If so, we can go together. Miyun suddenly looked at Yemo and asked again. Yemo didn't know what she meant and shook his head. I didn't get the right to go small heaven domain. I'm planning to leave here tomorrow. As for the auction, I'm not interested. Yemo had decided to send Li Kuan a message and leave immediately, seeing that Miyun mentioned the stone stool and her master wanted to see him. Miyun fell silent for a while and said, I thought you were interested in that 5-element stone stool. It seems I saw wrong, but I can tell you for sure that even if it's an immortal emperor, he wouldn't really be selling it. The 5-element stone stool is 100% fake. The seller also knows that others would be able to realize this. This person wants everyone to know the real one is on him. Why? Yemo subconsciously asked, but immediately realized what was going on. My master said that this person is quite possibly a half-divine. He might be desperate to vindicate Tao. If the 5-element stone stools gather, he can vindicate Tao through the 5 elements, even if he doesn't have a chaos world. A truth spirit world would be enough. Mi-Yun explained. Yemo realized, if Mi-Yun's master knew this, the other immortal emperors definitely knew this too. Unless there was an immortal emperor who didn't want to live, no one would dare to go find this guy. If someone went to this guy, he would definitely think the other stone stools are on this person and take it. That person would also keep an eye on those who seemed the slightest interested in him. Realizing this, Yemo was definitely not going to the auction. I heard there's also a low-grade god artifact and a half-god artifact in the auction. Mi-Yun's words made Yemo vigilant again. He got a low-grade god artifact pill cauldron. He didn't know if Hua Rushue could tell or not. It seemed he needed to leave quickly. Seeing this, Mi-Yun knew that Yemo probably wanted to go even more. She bit her lips and suddenly said, "Martial brother Yi, if I can bring you into the small heaven domain, you..." "What?" Yemo dazed. She could take him into the small heaven domain under the eyes of a few immortal emperor? "That's right, I can take you in," Mi-Yun said calmly. Yemo asked calmly, "Whether or not you can even bring me in is one thing, but why are you helping me? If I say I suddenly like you and want to help you, would you believe it?" Mi-Yun said calmly. Yemo smiled no. Mi-Yun didn't care, but instead took out the jade slip Yemo gave her and looked at it. "You said this stealth cultivation method is slightly different to the one you use. I'm thinking." Seeing her look at him, Yemo sneered, "So you want mine stealth cultivation method?" "Yes, I don't know if the one you're using is better, but I really need a powerful stealth cultivation method like this. Even if I don't stay saint and pay everything I have, I'm willing to." Mi-Yun stared at Yemo and said adamantly. Yemo guessed that she probably had big plans, but it had nothing to do with him. He was thinking if she could really bring him into the small heaven domain, it wasn't impossible for him to give her the stealth cultivation method. "I also know you have a good body refinement cultivation method. Don't even think about it, I won't agree." Yemo interrupted. "Tell me about how you can bring me in." Yemo said, "I have a small world." Yemo shook his head in disappointment before she finished. She was too naive. Small world, truth spirit world were completely different to chaos world. Chaos world could be hidden in the depth of the sea of consciousness. As long as someone's spirit sense didn't reach there, they wouldn't be able to know, but the small world and truth spirit world were different. It could only be turned into a bracelet or ring to be worn. It was impossible to hide it from an immortal emperor's spirit sense. Mi-Yun said, "I will hang it on my chest. Even if the immortal emperor notices it, he wouldn't ask me to take it out. I believe I wouldn't be the only one using small world to bring people in." How could Feng Kong Grand Emperor not think of this? But he didn't mention it, so it means he allows it. "Even if it fails, I'll let you out and you wouldn't lose anything." Yemo sneered. "Not lose anything?" As soon as he came out of the small world, the immortal emperors would check him with spirit sense immediately. Plus, I haven't spirit-controlled my small world. Suddenly, Yemo had an idea upon hearing this. Chapter 1777. The Stressed Female Immortal on the Streets. Chapter 1777. The Stressed Female Immortal on the Streets. "Martial sister Mi-Yun, I have a way, but I don't know if you will agree to it." Yemo thought and said. This way was best for Li Kuan to do, but he couldn't even see her right now. "Tell me, if I can do it, I won't disagree." Mi-Yun immediately said. Yemo said without hesitation, "You need to give me your jade card first. I'll go out the city and after 7 or 8 days come outside to meet me. Then I'll tell you how to bring me in. Of course, if you don't trust me, then never mind." "Of course I trust you," Mi-Yun said, and then gave a jade card to Yemo. "It's here. As for the rendezvous point, you can tell me later." "You didn't hand up your jade card?" Yemo looked at her dazedly. Mi-Yun said proudly, "Hand it up? Who here needs me to hand up something?" Yemo immediately realized the saint had extremely high status in ethereal immortal pond. If she wasn't willing, no one could force her to hand it out. She didn't need to worry about giving the jade card to him. Even if he wanted to take it, It was impossible, as 10 days later, those going to the small heaven domain would gather together. You wouldn't even know where the small heaven domain would be. The two exchanged communication beads. After she left, Emo immediately checked out of his room. As the #1 city of Qingwei Heaven and the place of the Heaven Lord estate, this place was very prosperous, and even more now due to the Pengyu fruit social. Emo felt there were too many people on the streets, but he didn't have the mood to admire this prosperity. He needed to go to a rather large merchant tower in here. At this time, every merchant tower was full. Things were constantly sold and taken in. Emo barely squeezed to the front, and before he spoke, the attendant asked, "Immortal friend, may I ask what you need?" Emo breathed and said, "I want some truth abyssal mud." With this, the surrounding quietened down immediately. The attendant smiled bitterly. "Immortal friend, nice joke. Our Howei Immortal Tower isn't small in here, but we don't have something as precious as truth abyssal mud. Even the top-grade Immortal Tower, such as Hongsheng Immortal Tower, wouldn't have such things." Then, the attendant looked at Emo vigilantly, clearly thinking Emo was here to cause trouble. Emo cursed himself for being so impulsive. How could something as precious as the truth abyssal mud be bought at regular merchant towers? Even the lowest grade truth abyssal mud he bought on that ship cost 200 million immortal crystals, and this was because the seller was desperate for immortal crystals and sold it for a low price. His truth abyssal mud here would at least be 1 billion immortal crystals here. "My bad." Emo saluted with his fists and quickly left. He suddenly regretted using all the truth abyssal mud he had before. Emo only walked for a few hundred meters and noticed something wrong. He seemed to be watched. Emo just wanted to turn around when a voice sounded by his ear. "If friend wants to talk, we can find a place. I have something good for you." Emo's spirit sense immediately saw a Great Eternity Immortal Peak stage woman. She looked pretty but seemed a little stressed. This female immortal definitely followed him out of the merchant tower. Emo could guess why she came up to him and said, "Okay, lead the way." Someone coming to him at this time would definitely be for the truth abyssal mud. Plus, even if this was outside, he wouldn't be afraid of a Great Eternity Immortal Peak stage. The female immortal led the way, and 5 minutes later, she took Emo to a room in a distant spirit rest tower. Emo kept watch. This place was far off, but the city was filled with people everywhere. She wasn't ordinary to be able to find a room at this moment. After entering the room, the female immortal put on restriction and said to Emo, "Immortal friend, Hong Ling invited you over suddenly, please forgive me." Emo scanned this room, and after confirming there was nothing wrong with it, he said, "What business does Hong Ling goddess have calling me over?" Emo didn't say his name. Hong Ling didn't mind and signaled Emo to sit and said, "You cultivated spirit will 9 transformations?" Emo suddenly got up and looked coldly at this Great Eternity immortal, saying coldly, "Who are you?" "You cultivated spirit will 9 transformations indeed, but it seems a different to the one I know. If you spirit will 9 transformations progresses one more step, I would be able to feel it even if I'm standing next to you." Hong Ling sighed. She was a Great Eternity Immortal Peak stage, so she wouldn't be afraid of Emo, of course. Emo was very shocked. Every little people knew he cultivated spirit will 9 transformations unless he attacked. How did Hong Ling know? He didn't use spirit sense attack on anyone. He just used spirit sense to protect himself. Was there a flaw in his spirit will 9 transformations? Hong Ling waved her hand. "Immortal friend, don't worry. Regardless how you got your spirit will 9 transformations, I have no ill will for you. And your spirit will 9 transformations is different once you reach Great Eternity Immortal Tertiary stage, or if you reach 4th transformation. Not even my master would be able to know." Hong Ling paused and said, "I invited you to do a deal with you." Emo interrupted her, "Answer 2 questions. First, who are you? Second, how did you know I cultivated spirit will 9 transformations? Otherwise, there will be no deal." Hong Ling shook her head. "You're only Great Eternity Immortal Primary Stage, but your tone is this impulsive. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to take it, but your character is quite similar to our young master. However, there's no way I'm going to tell you who I am. As for how I know you have spirit will 9 transformations, I can't tell you either." "Then sorry." Emo didn't want to have anything to do with her now. "It's not so easy to go." Hong Ling got up, and the space nearby seemed to have slowed. The next moment, she released a red band that covered the entire room. "Don't worry, I won't kill you," she said, but before she finished, she was dazed. Immediately, there was terror in her eyes. She, the great eternity immortal primary stage, wasn't affected by the red band at all, and instantly a terrifying lethal force swept over at her. Space wasn't under her control anymore. This punch seemed to have come from the void and released incessant destruction. Soon, it formed a lethal force whirlpool and swept her completely away. The red band quickly changed direction and covered her body again. If she was dragged, and she would die for certain. How was there such a terrifying great eternity immortal? Was this person an immortal king? Otherwise, there was no way she would be in the definite lower hand in one clash. "Don't attack. I didn't mean to kill you," Hong Ling called in her terror. Yimo sneered, and the lethal force disappeared. Hong Ling fell hard onto the ground. At this moment, she heard Yimo say, "If you had killing intent before, you would be long gone. Now tell me how you know I have Spirit Will 9 transformations." The flaw to his cultivation method was the most important thing to him. Chapter 1778. Loyal Maid. Chapter 1778. Loyal Maid. Hong Ling got up in shock and wiped the sweat from her forehead. She had never seen a great eternity immortal as insane as Yimo in her hundreds of thousands of years of cultivation. Even her young master was far from this great eternity immortal. She quickly cast these thoughts aside and saluted with her fists to Yimo before setting up a few sound restrictions. Seeing that it was too ordinary, Yimo casually waved out a few even powerful ones and said, "No one can listen in now, speak." Seeing this, she was extremely shocked. Even a mortal formation great master would need some formation god artifact to be able to do it this easily. But she had seen a lot, and even Divine Emperor, so she quickly collected her mood and said, "Have you heard of Wushuang Immortal Emperor?" Yimo realized, Wushuang Immortal Emperor's most powerful feature was the spirit sense cultivation method. Did she belong to Wushuang Immortal Emperor? Perhaps Wushuang Immortal Emperor created Spirit Will 9 transformations. I heard he was ambushed by more than 10 Immortal Emperor, and he killed 9 before fleeing. Yimo nodded. Hong Ling's eyes went red. Her mood became agitated. "I wanted to ask if you were related to Wushuang Immortal Emperor." Wushuang Immortal Emperor cultivated Spirit Will 9 transformations. Where did you get Spirit Will 9 transformations? As though fearing misunderstanding, Hong Ling quickly said, "I cultivated Spirit Will 9 transformations. It's very good to use it with Corner Soul Weed. I did this too, so I can sense those who used Corner Soul Weed to cultivate Spirit Will 9 transformations." Hong Ling then gave Yimo a jade slip. Yimo had a look and his face changed. This was the Spirit Will 9 transformations. He only got 4 transformations, but this was the entire thing. On top of that, he realized why his Spirit Will 9 transformations chi was spilling. He derived his own Spirit Will 9 transformations, but after seeing this complete Spirit Will 9 transformations, he only needed some time to derive it again. In just a short while, Yimo repaired his Spirit Will 9 transformations, and the spilling chi was gone. Your Spirit Will 9 transformations chi is gone?" Hong Ling felt it immediately and was dumbfounded. Just who was this? He completely fixed the flaw in his Spirit Will 9 transformations in just 10 seconds. Yimo gave the jade slip back to her, "Thanks." Hong Ling didn't take it and continued, "I don't know what your name is, but seeing that you're an honest person, you can keep it. I just want you to answer my question. Of course I will tell you who I am." Yimo smiled. "I indeed cultivated Spirit Will 9 transformations, but it's different to yours. I'll keep cultivating mine. I'm Yimo. If you have anything, just ask." Yimo guessed a little about Hong Ling's identity and didn't feel so revolted. Hong Ling took the jade slip and said, "Immortal friend, you can probably guess. My master is Tianxing Grand Emperor. My master created the Spirit Will 9 transformations. My young mistress is called Yu He. My young master is Mu Wushuang." Yimo understood. Hong Ling was Mu Wushuang's maid. No wonder she was hiding in here. She probably wanted to scout information about Wei Feng Immortal Emperor. Wushuang Immortal Emperor died to Wei Feng Immortal Emperor. She had never forgotten about this, but the difference between her and Wei Feng, immortal emperor, was too great. Yimo guessed she would never be able to catch up her entire life. Hong Ling said dejectedly, "When my master was ambushed, he was half divine already. My master really liked young Master Wushuang, but there was one flaw about him, and that was he liked too many girls. If it wasn't due to this, my master would definitely let Wushuang young master inherit him. Due to him having too many girls, the master didn't agree to the wedding between him and the young mistress." Hong Ling continued, "Wushuang young master's character is very stubborn. He adamantly refused to give up on his other concubines, so he left Tianxing Mountain, but the young mistress really loves Wushuang young master. She took me and left Tianxing Mountain secretly and found young master Wushuang. In time, the master wasn't going to keep caring about this, and they slowly started connecting again, but at this time, Wushuang young master was ambushed and young mistress disappeared." Hearing this, he couldn't help sighing how ruthless Wei Feng, immortal emperor, was. Even Mu Wushuang's concubines were gone. At the time of the incident, I was serving the master at Tianxing Mountain. The master immediately headed to Wei Feng, immortal emperor, wanting to bring back young mistress, but master never came out again. I didn't dare to stay at Tianxing Mountain. After leaving, I roamed outside for tens of thousands of years before coming back to Hongyu Immortal City, wanting to find out about young mistress and master. But my talent is limited, and even after all these years, I could only stay at Great Eternity Immortal Peak stage. I wasn't able to find out anything. Hearing this, Yimo had great respect for Hong Ling. "Pardon my rudeness before. Martial sister Hong Ling, what do you need to ask me of?" Yimo saluted with his fists. Seeing this, Hong Ling dazed, but soon she realized what Yimo thought. Yimo respected her character, and she felt very grateful. She was prepared for the worst before, but now it seemed Yimo wasn't going to report her in and instead treated her with respect. She felt very grateful and relieved. All these years, no one knew her hardship and what she did, but for once, her heart resonated with Yimo. "Brother Yi, Hong Ling begged that if one day you reach Divine Emperor, take Hong Ling to the Heaven Lord Estate and see if my mistress and master is still there." Hong Ling knelt down. Yimo quickly pulled her up. "Martial sister Hong Ling, I'm only Great Eternity Immortal Primary Stage, still very far from Immortal King, much less Divine Emperor. I might disappoint you." "No, Brother Yi. You're the most talented Great Eternity Immortal I've ever seen. No one can surpass you. I trust my eyes. You will be able to reach the peak of the immortal realm. If you're willing to help ask about my mistress and master, Hong Ling is willing to be your maid forever." Hong Ling said pitifully. Yimo fell silent for a while and said, "No need to be my maid. My spirit will 9 transformations didn't come directly from your master, but it still originated from him. If I have the ability, I will help go check for you." Seeing Hong Ling about to kneel again, Yimo waved his hand. "I don't know how many years this will be, so don't be hopeful. If I don't have the ability, I would never go to the Heaven Lord Estate. And you're much older than me, just call me Martial Brother Yi." "Yes, Martial Brother Yi," Hong Ling said. "I've waited a few 100,000 years. How could I care about waiting for tens of thousands of years?" "This is the question you want to ask me?" Yimo asked. Hong Ling quickly said, "No, I wanted to ask Martial Brother Yi where you got your spirit will 9 transformations." Yimo nodded. "You want to know where Wushuang Immortal Emperor is, right?"
Yes.
Hong Ling said, "I have a feeling that young master isn't dead, but it had been a few 100,000 years, and there is still no news of him. I've been to Chaos Star Realm, but I found nothing there." Yimo hesitated for a moment and said, "Martial sister Hong Ling, I suspect your young master isn't dead. He's recovering in the Chaos Star Realm, but it's probably not easy for him to completely recover. Don't have too much hope for this." Although he almost died at Chaos Star Realm, Yimo didn't mind too much. Mu Wushuang didn't target him. "Huh." Hong Ling looked at Yimo in surprise and joy. Yimo waved his hand. "You don't need to go find your young master. It's not good for either of you." Hong Ling bowed to Yimo. "Thank you, immortal friend Yi. Hong Ling knows." Hong Ling said again, "Martial Brother Yi, do you want Truth Abyssal Mud?" Yimo quickly said, "Yes, I need it. Do you have it, Martial Sister Hong Ling?" Hong Ling shook her head. "No, but I know where there is. The auction tonight will have it, but the price will be shocking." Yimo dazed. He didn't want to go to the auction, but now it came to it again. Should he go or not? If he didn't have the golden page world nor the stone stools, Emo would go to the auction, but now he didn't want to. Although if he didn't focus on the stone stool, he wouldn't be noticed, but what if he was unlucky and that guy scanned him with spirit sense? If he didn't have the golden page world nor the stone stools, Emo would go to the auction, but now he didn't want to. Although if he didn't focus on the stone stool, he wouldn't be noticed, but what if he was unlucky and that guy scanned him with spirit sense? Seeing Emo in silence, Hong Ling thought Emo didn't have immortal crystals, so she immediately said, "The truth abyssal mud is indeed very expensive. I have 60 million immortal crystals. These can't even buy a corner of the truth abyssal mud, but having even just one extra immortal crystals would be good in an action." Seeing this, Emo dazed. Hong Ling was a great eternity immortal peak stage and had spent so many years in the city, but she only had this much immortal crystals. It really wasn't much for a great eternity immortal peak stage. Even some wealthy abstruse immortals had more than this. Emo waved his hand. "I have immortal crystals. The truth abyssal mud is very precious. I'm afraid people would come for me if I buy it. This is easy. I have a mask." Hong Ling took out a thin mask and gave it to Emo. There were too many powerful beings in the immortal realm, and so Emo never bought some mask after he came to the immortal realm. He didn't even forge one himself. As soon as he touched this mask, Emo knew it was extreme grade immortal artifact. Because the materials inside masks were the most precious and the forgery process was extremely difficult, masks were more expensive than pill cauldrons and flying immortal artifact. Hong Ling didn't have a lot of immortal crystals. How could she possess such a precious mask? Hong Ling seemed to know what Emo thought inside. "After knowing my master was in trouble, I snuck back to Tian Xine Mountain and took some valuable things. However, Wei Feng, that bastard, still found the mountain a few years later." Emo nodded and simply spirit controlled the mask and wore it. His chi immediately changed, and he could change his face however he liked. "Okay, let me borrow this mask, but next time we can meet here." Emo thought the stone stools definitely won't be found in his sea of consciousness. Was that person going to use spirit sense to crush his sea of consciousness? Even the most dominant guy wouldn't crush the sea of consciousness of every guy at the auction. As long as he paid no attention to the stone stool, no one would keep an eye on him. Emo sighed. That small heaven domain was too important to him. Otherwise, he really didn't want to go to this auction. There were chaos items in there. If he could move it all to his golden page world, then his world would be perfected even more. There was only one such opportunity. Hong Ling immediately nodded. "After all these years, I know my current power is too weak. It's impossible to find out about things at the Heaven Lord estate. Now that I know young master isn't dead, I can rest assured. I will leave Qingwei Heaven and search for fortunes. As for this mask, I don't need it. You can keep it." Hearing this, Emo immediately said, "After I'm done with things here, I will be going to Jinshang Heaven. You are in immortal residence. If you can go to Jinshang Heaven, you can meet me there." Emo said this because he thought he might get Pengyu immortal fruit. If he could get it, he wouldn't mind giving her a king pill. Then, Emo gave her 2 dual spirit pills. "You cultivate the spirit will 9 transformations. Dual spirit pill should be useful to you." Hong Ling didn't reject. She took it and left this immortal rest tower with Emo. 2 hours later, Hong Ling took the teleportation formation to leave the city. Meanwhile, Emo changed into a coarse-looking great eternity immortal tertiary stage and went into the auction. This auction was indeed extremely huge. The entrance price was a huge sum. 500k immortal crystals just for the worst position. Only 1 million immortal crystals would get you a slightly better place. Ordinary rooms cost 5 million. Pretty much all the immortals who came here were very wealthy. When Emo came, the price rose to 6 million a room. Emo threw out 8 million and got an ordinary room, C453. After going in, Emo checked with his spirit sense carefully. There were spirit sense shielding formation all around the room, but the formation was set up in a special way that other people couldn't scan their spirit sense in, but the people inside could scan their spirit sense out. Emo frowned. He didn't like this way of auction. He liked a display formation so the participants wouldn't need to use spirit sense and could see everything in their room. This method of auction could allow the participants' spirit sense to touch the items, but it would also disco spirit sense information. Guillermo soon guessed that the auctioneer did this on purpose, or the person selling the stone stool was doing this on purpose. The spirit sense barrier formation also had some flaws. It couldn't stop all the spirit sense coming in. Guillermo breathed, but he didn't fix these back doors. There was teleportation formation in a corner of the room. One could use this to go outside onto the square whenever he wanted to. Guillermo used the 3-birth chant and completely suppressed his emotions. Then he poured himself some immortal spirit chi tea and waited for the beginning of the auction. For hours later, a black-robed old man appeared on the immortal jade table. Guillermo could tell his power was immortal monarch primary stage. He just stood there and didn't even scan his spirit sense out, but his force dominated the scene. The immortal monarch nodded and said, "Many people know me. Hey, you immortal monarch." Many immortals got up and bowed. "Hey, you immortal monarch," pressed with his hand. "Everyone sit down. This auction is the biggest auction in 10,000 years of Qingwei heaven." Using the opportunity of the Pengyu fruit social and the opening of the small heaven domain, many people have come. No matter why you have come, the Hongyu Immortal City welcomes you, but at the auction, everyone has to follow the rules. I won't talk too much. The auction begins now. Hopefully everyone can get what they want. Then, Hey You Immortal Monarch sat on the side, and an extremely beautiful Great Eternity immortal female immortal got up. She bowed and said sweetly, "The first item is a level 7 immortal spirit herb 1 tiger beast core. Starting bid 10 million immortal crystals. Each increment must be no lower than 1 million. This was extremely valuable in the immortal realm, and immediately bidding sounds began. Soon, it was bought by an immortal in a room with 53 million immortal crystals. There was one level 8 immortal spirit herb that Guillermo was interested, but he resisted the urge. He didn't want anyone to notice him. If he bid, it would have to be the truth abyssal mud. The next item is defensive magic artifact octagonal cauldron. It's lacking a lid, but it's definitely on par with the best extreme grade immortal artifact. If that lid is found, this octagonal cauldron would be near God artifact. Of course, this is just a guess. The starting price is 80 million. Each increment must be no lower than 5 million. Guillermo was shocked. The real octagonal cauldron has appeared. Should he buy it? Guillermo lacked a defensive magic artifact, and this octagonal cauldron was too perfect for him. The only pity was that it was lacking a lid, but then again, if it was complete, it wouldn't be this price. Guillermo lacked a defensive magic artifact, and this octagonal cauldron was too perfect for him. The only pity was that it was lacking a lid, but then again, if it was complete, it wouldn't be this price. Guillermo scanned his spirit sense out. It was exactly the same as his damaged one. The reason this octagonal cauldron dropped to an extreme grade immortal artifact was not because its quality wasn't high enough, but it was lacking a lid and the cauldron itself was damaged. Even so, the price soon rose to 160 million. Many people could see its flaws, just like Guillermo. When the price rose to 180 million, the people bidding became less. This price was not cheap for this broken extreme grade immortal artifact. 200 million. Guillermo bid it. The octagonal cauldron was very good in defense. He liked it. Guillermo would rather have octagonal cauldron than a pristine extreme grade defensive immortal artifact. Guillermo's price was far beyond the value of the cauldron, so no one bid it again in the palace. Guillermo breathed easy. 205 million. Just when Guillermo thought the octagonal cauldron was his, another bid sounded. 210 million. Guillermo sighed. If the person was going to keep bidding, he wouldn't have it anymore. If he kept competing with him, it would be offending that person. Now, wasn't a wise time to do so. However, what confused Guillermo was that no one bidded after he made that bid. It was as tough the person just wanted him to pay an extra 10 million. As the hammer fell, Guillermo bought this octagonal cauldron with 210 million immortal crystals. Moments later, a female immortal carrying the octagonal cauldron came to Guillermo's room. Guillermo paid them and checked the octagonal cauldron before putting it back into this storage ring. At the same time, He felt a few spirit scents on him. Yemo didn't seem to notice this. He just kept watching the next item. There were so many loopholes in the spirit sense barrier formation of this room. Some stronger people could easily scan in. Later on, even a half-god artifact appeared and a few top materials, but Yemo resisted his urge to buy. He also began to worry. If the truth abyssal mud came too late, he wouldn't have time to do what he needed to. Yemo really wanted the truth abyssal mud to come first before the 5-element stool. However, after half a day, the great eternity immortal female immortal carried a stone stool and put it on the table. Yemo almost couldn't control himself seeing, but luckily he was prepared. The instant he saw it, he knew it was real, not fake. Yemo knew this moment he was in extreme danger. His glance turned into one that of confusion, bewilderment. His spirit sense scanned around on this stone stool. Yemo knew if he took back his eyes immediately or had the slightest emotions, he would be a target of heavy investigation. Indeed, when Yemo was looking at the stone stool, a subtle spirit sense scanned past him and even stopped for a while. If he deigned to cultivate the 3-birth chant, he would never feel it. This definitely wasn't immortal monarch power, Yemo knew immediately, but he didn't care about it. He kept studying the stool with interest. Caring too much or too little about the stool would both be targets of investigation. How could Yemo not know this? Unlike before, the great eternity immortal said nothing after taking the stool out. If he didn't cultivate the 3-birth chant, he would have been exposed. Even the slightest emotional waves wouldn't go undetected by that spirit sense. If someone else had the stools, he would have been exposed. No matter if people had the stools or not, they would seem more or less excited. The person behind all this would determine the degree of excitement and compare it to their attitude towards the stool. After a while, the great eternity immortal smiled. Many people don't know what this stone stool is. Let me introduce now. It has another name called Chaos 5 Elements. It's a water element stone stool. Whether you have small world or truth spirit world, with the Chaos 5 Elements, your world would improve a level or even grade. Hearing this, the place went into rupture. Who didn't want this? With this, Yemo also showed excitement. At this moment, that subtle spirit sense scanned him again. Moments later, the spirit sense disappeared. Yemo knew he was out of danger for now. That spirit sense wanted to find who really had the stone stool. He definitely wouldn't stop there. I believe many people know more about the Chaos 5 Elements than me. I can only say this much, however, this 5-element stool is incomplete. There is only a water element. Although this would greatly depreciate its value, but if you have the power to store it, then perhaps one day you might find a second one. The great eternity immortal then smiled. Because the 5 elements are incomplete, this stone stool isn't very price. The bottom price is 1.5 billion and a middle grade immortal range. Each increment must be no lower than 100 million immortal crystals. Not everyone like Yemo knew this was a bait. Although no one could afford this price on the immortal ship, people here immediately bid it. 16 immortal crystals plus a middle-grade immortal range. Yemo calmed his face. He knew he didn't need to keep acting. If he was still excited at such a high price, it meant he was interested in this. As soon as Yemo calmed his face, that subtle spirit sense scanned him again. Yemo breathed easy. This guy was definitely a psychologist. He was lucky to have guessed the mentality of this person and had the 3-birth chant to protect him, thus he wouldn't be suspected. There was too many wealthy people in Qingwei heaven. The price was soon raised to 2 billion and 2 middle-grade immortal range. These people weren't dumb, they just didn't know the stone stool had been to many auctions. When the price of 2 billion and 1 extreme-grade immortal range, Yemo knew the owner of the stone stool intervened. The auction was still going on. A handsome great eternity immortal in a 71 room suddenly got up. Marshal uncle, should I send someone to wait outside in case that person suddenly leaves? The auction was still going on. A handsome great eternity immortal in a 71 room suddenly got up. Marshal uncle, should I send someone to wait outside in case that person suddenly leaves? The square-faced man sneered. Want to leave from my spirit sense? Humph. But you're right. I can't watch him constantly, sinned. Suddenly, the square-faced man's face changed. He got up and cursed, such a cunning bastard. What happened? The handsome great eternity immortal suddenly had a bad feeling. This person just left. Send people after him immediately. The martial uncle's face looked very bad. He just slapped himself in the face. The handsome great eternity immortal immediately got up and said to two middle-aged men, "Come out with me now. I'm going to catch that guy even if he runs to the ends of the heavens." When Yemo was teleported to the square, he left immediately. Just instantly, he changed his face and all his clothes. A few seconds later, he had disappeared amidst the crowd and left the city. 5 minutes later, Yemo released Space-Time Boat. For hours later, Yemo stopped in a dense forest. This was very far from Hongyu Immortal City. Yemo believed that even Immortal Emperor wouldn't be able to find him if he didn't know when he left. His time was limited. He didn't need to keep flying. Just in case, Yemo used his location as the center and released the space-time boat to fly in 4 directions, each for 5 minutes, and left extremely subtle stealth surveillance formations there. These formations were marked on ordinary stones by him or on some leaves. Yemo believed that even if Immortal Emperor scanned with spirit sense, he wouldn't notice the formations unless he specifically looked for them. If he saw that he was being followed on the formation discs, he would rather not come out of the golden page world. Even if Mi-Yun thought he stole the jade card, he wouldn't care. Compared to his life, everything else didn't matter. After he had done these, Yemo went back to where he was before. He found a big tree and went into the bottom of the tree. Then he set up an extremely stealthed formation and went inside the golden page world. Yemo set up the time formation disc and then took out that truth abyssal mud. He didn't even need this much, but he couldn't go negotiate with people saying he only needed a little. This mud was indeed top grade, very good top grade. It was so many times better than the big piece he got before. He then took out the jade card Mi-Yun gave him. He studied the teleportation formation inside the card. Yemo believed that if he had half a year to study this jade card, he would be able to become level 6 Immortal Formation Great Master and forge one exactly like this. He had half a year's time as he had the time formation disc. To him, there was still 2 or 3 years before he went into the small heaven domain. Even if he could forge the exact same jade card, Yemo wouldn't be really dumb enough to do that. He was going to use this sliver of mud to mark some runes on the teleportation formation. Yemo believed that if he fused the formation chi into it, one could have to take a good look at the jade card to be able to see it. He didn't believe the Immortal Emperors would check carefully the jade card they gave out. Inside the time formation disc, half a year passed quickly. Yemo had been studying the teleportation formation in the jade card. He rarely used so much time to study an ordinary teleportation formation disc. But this involved the small heaven domain, so he had to be careful. Half a year later, Yemo not only derived every step of drawing the formation, but also found a spirit sense mark inside the teleportation formation disc. He was very sensitive to these spirit sense marks due to the middle-aged man hiding it in the star core flame. This meant that even if you could forge the exact same jade card, it wouldn't be real without the mark. Yemo didn't touch this mark. He started to repair the teleportation formation inside and added a sliver of truth abyssal mud formation rune into it. This was very simple to Yemo. He could be done within half a month, but the hardest part was cleansing the chi of the truth abyssal mud and fusing it into the jade card completely. Even though Yemo was an immortal forgery grandmaster and near immortal formation grandmaster, he needed to use 3 birth chant to derive this and slowly make it. This would at least take a year or so to not touch the mark. The auction at Hongyu Immortal City was very exciting. There was not only low-grade god artifact in these 5 days, but also all sorts of top-grade things. The 5-element stool was sold for 1 extreme-grade immortal range and billions of immortal crystals. Seeing that the auction was about to end, in a subtle room a purple-robed man frowned. Those who scanned with spirit sense would know this person was the final buyer of the stone stool. He carefully thought about the specifies of before. Quite a lot of people came to this auction, and he investigated every one of them. According to his experience, these people probably didn't have stone stool. Their reactions were what he expected. Some people were watching him with spirit sense, but he didn't care. He was even waiting to see who would hunt him after he left the city. By his side was a man who stood like a servant to him. The purple-robed man thought for a long while before asking Jiliang, "Do you have anything to add?" The man bowed. "Master, the great eternity immortal tertiary stage in D453 is slightly suspicious." "Oh, how so?" the purple-robed man asked. He checked that coarse-looking man in D453 room. He seemed very normal. But he knew his servant was also very meticulous. He had been with him for a few 100,000 years and would sometimes notice things he didn't notice. Jiliang answered, "He bought a broken extreme-grade immortal artifact octagonal cauldron. A 71 room competed with him, but it wasn't intense." Later on, the truth abyssal mud appeared, and the two fought over it heavily. Eventually, D453 bought it with many times the value of the mud. The purple-robed man nodded. He knew this and said, "Continue."
"Yes."
Jiliang continued, "The great eternity immortal in D453 suddenly added 300 million to buy the truth abyssal mud. It seems he's acting in arrogance and competition, but just then I felt things didn't seem to be so." "Oh." The purple-robed man showed a serious attitude. Jiliang continued, "His seemingly actions of impulse made a 71 room give up the fight. But the master of A71 is the young master of Sword Abstruse Emperor Sect. Someone stole what he wanted twice, making him very annoyed. This young master has an immortal monarch with him. I know that immortal monarch. He has a good spirit sense cultivation method and could watch people without people noticing. So that immortal monarch was constantly watching the great eternity immortal in D453. The purple-robed man seemed to understand and his breathing went heavy. "Continue." But D453 had no intention to leave and seemed very interested in the things later on. But as soon as the immortal monarch's spirit sense moved away, the great eternity immortal left immediately. The purple-robed man calmed down and said coldly, "You're saying this person knows about us checking him with spirit sense?" The purple-robed man didn't need Jiliang to answer anymore. Now, he felt that great eternity immortal was a little strange. The time frame of him being excited and calm seemed a little too accurate. "Investigate where this person is immediately." The purple-robed man got up and said. He no longer had the mood to stay here. "Investigate where this person is immediately." The purple-robed man got up and said. He no longer had the mood to stay here. He didn't expect he used all that effort and let the real suspect escape under his eyes. Yemo didn't know the owner of the stone stool was also looking for him. But even if he did, he wouldn't care. Seeing the jade card in his hands, Yemo was very satisfied. He used less than 2 years and finished this intricate task. There was still 3 days before the small heaven domain opened up. After putting away the time formation disk, Yemo had decided to leave the golden page world. But then he noticed that there was a slight shaking from one of the surveillance formations he set up before. Yemo immediately resisted his urge to go out and check and instantly focused on watching. Terrifying earth-shattering scenes were shown in the surveillance formation. As earth and rubbles were flipped over, a purple-robed man appeared in the surveillance formation. There was also a middle-aged man in front of him. Yemo couldn't tell the power of the man, but he was certain it wasn't below a mortal monarch. Yemo couldn't hear the sound as the surveillance formation was too far away. Yemo didn't understand lip reading either, but he could guess the middle-aged man fought with the purple-robed man, but the middle-aged man was no match for the purple-robed man. Thinking about this, Yemo was very shocked. An immortal monarch couldn't even beat that purple-robed man, and he didn't even seem to break a sweat. Was this guy an immortal emperor? Why was an immortal emperor and immortal monarch fighting here? Such intense battle would definitely catch the attention of other immortal emperors. Why is there still no immortal emperors coming? Yemo didn't dare to watch anymore, not even through the formation disk. The immortal emperor's spirit sense was too powerful. One slight mistake, and he might be caught. Taking back his spirit sense, Yemo hid in the golden page world and deigned dare to expand his spirit sense. He just concocted a few cauldrons of flying snow pill. 2 days later, Yemo carefully checked his surveillance formation disk and found that the purple-robed man had left and the immortal monarch was gone. Only then did Yemo carefully leave his golden page world and put away his stealth formation. At the same time, he let out space-time boat and quickly flew towards Hongyu Immortal City. When he was near the city, Yemo put away the space-time boat and sent Miyun a message. 2 hours later, Miyun came to where Yemo was in a hurry. Yemo checked and made sure there was no one following her. Seeing Miyun so desperate, it was obvious she was scared Yemo tricked her. I was so worried. You disappeared for so many days. Luckily I trusted you and didn't go ask. Miyun said. Yemo knew this wasn't the place to stay. He didn't notice anyone here, so then he took out the jade card to her. Don't say anything now. I offended someone. I have to leave immediately. I won't go to the small heaven domain. If I get caught, it would be very bad for me. I'll return the jade card to you. If you get more Pengyu immortal fruits, just give me on. I'll be going first. Then, there was a space ripple and Yemo disappeared. Instant transmission? Miyun repeated in a daze. Before she could react, Yemo stuffed a jade card back in her hands and disappeared. Miyun was too shocked. She didn't expect a mere Great Eternity Immortal primary stage could instant transmission. Instant transmission was high-level god art. How could a Great Eternity Immortal know this? The only pity was that the space ripple Yemo created was too big. It wasn't hard to find him with it. If one day Yemo could minimize it, it would be a very powerful god arts. How does he have so many powerful god arts? Just when she was still in her shock, there was another space ripple. Yemo appeared before her, and as he landed, there was even more space ripple. Yemo said apologetically, I'll give you my stealth cultivation method first. When you come out, I'll send a message to you. Then, Yemo threw Miyun a jade slip and disappeared. Miyun shook her head. With such space ripples, she would rather not instant transmission. Yemo breathed easy. He finally used the space ripples of a few instant transmission to slip into the teleportation rune inside the Truth Abyssal Mud. Because very little Truth Abyssal Mud was used, there was barely enough space for a person to sleep, but this was enough for Yemo. As soon as he came in, he used the 3-birth chant to stealth all his chi. He was originally planning to tell her he was going in the jade card, but he was afraid she would expose him. In front of an immortal emperor, a Great Eternity Immortal didn't have much privacy at all. Seeing the jade slip Yemo gave her, it was indeed much better than what she had before. She joyful took the jade card and slip before rushing back to Hongyu Immortal City. On the biggest square in Hongyu Immortal City, the place was filled. Today was the day to enter the small heaven domain. Although there was only 1,100 people who didn't want to see what the small heaven domain looked like, who didn't want to know what treasures laid inside. As though knowing there would be a lot of people today, Wei Feng Immortal Emperor appeared on the stage very early. There was a teleportation formation on the stage and a huge surveillance formation screen. As Wei Feng Immortal Emperor came out, the other Immortal Emperors all came. This time, 12 Immortal Emperors came. Wei Feng stood high on the stage and saluted with his fists. Thank you, friends from the Heaven Domains, for coming to Qingwei Heaven's event. Once the small heaven domain opens, there will be large amounts of top-grade materials that haven't been seen for thousands of years. Because the spot to enter is limited, we have decided to have an auction here at this square 3 days later when the prodigies come out. The auction items will be what they got in the small heaven domain. Immediately, the square's excitement soared. Immortals with large sums of immortal crystals were very excited. Some even decided to join up to buy top-grade materials. Wei Feng Immortal Emperor nodded happily to their reaction and continued, now, may the 1,100 elites of the heaven domains please come up. With this, 1,100 Great Eternity Immortals with jade cards entered the stage. Nonetheless, the huge square still seemed empty. Li Kuan scanned with her spirit sense, but soon was disappointed. She didn't see her brother Yemo. Her brother didn't get the jade card. He probably left the city. Now may Dragon River Grand Emperor explain the rules of the small heaven domain and inform us which people can't go in the small heaven domain. Wei Feng Immortal Emperor said and stood on the side. As one of the 4 Grand Emperors, Dragon River Grand Emperor seemed very ordinary looking. He walked up with a smile seeming very amicable, but everyone knew he was one of the 4 Grand Emperors. He could easily pulverize tens of a mortal city. Even a heaven domain couldn't stand his havoc. It's not easy to enter the small heaven domain. It requires 10 immortal emperors to open a portal to the void at the same time. Only then can people barely go in, so spots are limited. For fairness, those with pocket-dimensional worlds, please stand out or your Jade card will be confiscated. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.